And welcome in to Willy and DMase here on 102.5 The Game. It is a Friday in the Music City. Gotta love it. Excited to bring you another great day of sports talk. We have got some fun stuff up our sleeve today. We'll have Ask DMase today. That's coming up at 12:30 at our regular time. We also have a proposed trade that is going to solve the Brandon Ayuk impasse. I've got the trade, and I'm going to hit both Nick and DMase with it at high noon today in 1 hour. So Willie Donick here, Derek Mason, Nick Frazier is here. I have already whet their appetite. They did not want to know my trade. I offered to sort of give them the parameters of the trade. It is a three-way deal. We're going to get this thing going, and it's going to be a win-win-win. I just want to tell you guys that all three teams are going to come out smelling like a rose in this thing. So, Nick, are you intrigued? Are you ready?
Roses don't smell good, Willie.
Roses don't smell good?
No. You know the song Outkast, Roses Smell Like Poo-Poo? You know? I wouldn't say
that's a good one.
There's more than one song about roses. They don't all have like that.
But I like that one, Nick. Yes.
Hey, I'm the GM around here, man. Like,
okay,
for this trade, I don't know.
Okay, we're gonna see if how the roses are smelling when I hit them with this trade in 1 hour. But I think it'll get some discussion going. It's a good think tank. This is a complete fantasy, right? This is not based on any reporting that I'm doing. I have not actually called the Steelers or the 49ers. But, the 49ers are coming in town. They might be looking for ideas. But we're going to introduce it. I actually got sparked for the idea listening to the GM shuffle. Michael Lombardi was talking about just how this is getting crazy. This Brandon Ayuk, it's gone from, I really don't want to play for my current contract. Can we get a new deal? No, this is going on, and it's coming to a head. Like, the 49ers want to win this year. So we're going to get into that because it has not been resolved.
No.
The 49ers don't want to trade him for a bunch of draft picks because they need
it doesn't help them right now. They want to win right now. San Fran wants to win right now.
That's where I'm going to help you guys. I'm going to help you. See, DMase is going to be the GM of the 49ers for this proposed trade. Nick is going to be handling the Steelers part because earlier this week he started telling us about the buzz coming out of Pittsburgh that Pittsburgh's interested. They may want the deal. The problem is the two sides can't agree. So the third team is coming in, and that's me. That's me. So I'm ready to go. All right. That's coming up next hour. In the meantime, did anybody see, and this is a serious question because it was on at a strange time. Did anybody see the game between Serbia and the USA yesterday? Did you guys watch from start to finish?
Watch them. As soon as I got home, I started watching.
Second quarter. I
got
got home a little late.
I messed up.
As soon as I got home, I started watching. It was I think it was a game because you got to understand this team played Serbia. Not even a month ago, maybe a couple weeks ago at the beginning. It was like an exhibition.
It was one of the it was the first game in the group stage.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. It was the first game in the group.
Kevin Durant. It was the first weekend of the Olympics. So it was Kevin Durant came off the bench, had a huge first half, kind of pulled away, and they won fairly easily.
They won easily, but this go around, I mean, that Serbia team in the first three quarters, they couldn't miss a three-pointer. In the first three quarters, they shot 50% from the three-point line. What is the kid's name? He's an NBA player too.
Bogdanovic?
Yeah, Bogdanovic.
Three-point shooter.
I mean, he was hitting stuff for him. It was ridiculous. He was looking like Steph Curry out there, the way he was playing. They were physical with the U.S. because of international rules. And that's why I think that's why sometimes when at least let's just say the girls, the women's basketball, that's why they are so particular about who they put on the team, because the international play is so much more physical. And you can find yourself like the U.S., 17, 19 points down.
They were down by as many as 17.
Because of the way, the brand of basketball they play in international play. You can be more physical. They carry every time, so they're not calling travel or anything else. It's just a whole different game. And the U.S. was playing more so of the NBA style of game the first 3 quarters than the international game. And then the last quarter, when they were down, I think they got it to 12. They got it to 12 in the fourth quarter. And then the NBA players, the U.S., started to play more of the international rules. They became more physical with Serbia. They were in their face. They played defense 94 feet, from one end to the other. And that helped them. And then it doesn't hurt when you have Steph and KD and LeBron. I mean, KD is a bucket waiting to happen. That's what he is.
He made some huge shots. So if you didn't see it, which I didn't, I messed up. What was I doing? I was watching the Mets against the Colorado Rockies.
They're not representing the U.S.
I forgot the game was on. This is what I'm working my way towards here for the topic, because I missed a great sporting event. I went back and watched the highlights. The U.S. was still down 11 with just over 7 minutes to go. Still down 7 with 5 minutes to go. Like it didn't happen.
Tight.
It was tight, and they outplayed them down the stretch. Nikola Jokic got in some foul trouble. They took advantage of that, but Jokic was still out there. And as you mentioned, Bogdanovic, who plays for the Hawks, had a great game. They were hanging with him. It was nail biter time. My son had a great experience. He was doing his physical work. He was doing his workout with this workout group, and they were all watching the TV. They were going wild. So I'm sure people have some fun stories if you saw it, but I missed it because it was an odd time. Like, can you imagine in 4 years if that game was going on a Thursday night in prime time at the Staples Center or whatever it's called now, crypto.com. Yeah, everybody's watching that. But it wasn't. So I asked you guys the question, because this might be the case. Was that the best sporting event that's ever taken place during, quote, the workday? Because I'm sure a lot of you were like, I didn't see it. Because it was a classic. It was an amazing. Some of the shots. LeBron makes 2 great drives, like with the game on the line, just takes it and said, I'm taking it on LeBron. Go right into the lane. Bam. He scores. Like Steph hits a huge dagger 3. Durant hits a huge.
He hit a 3 and 1.
3 and 1.
Yeah.
He had one where he got the switch to the matchup he wanted. He waves away the screener, says, I got it. And, does a little shifty step back, bam, just in your face. But they had to have all of that to win. They had to have all of that. The greatest players of the era.
They had to have all men on deck, all hands on deck. And it just seemed like Kerr went with the guys he trusted the most in that last. You see, he even put in White toward the latter part of the third quarter for defense. He put in Drew Holiday for defense. He put in the guys that he trusted that would play defense as well as offense. LeBron, Steph, Drew Holiday, Booker was out there. Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid is one of my favorite players. I mean, that guy is just he's
in the center of attention.
Yeah, he's no nonsense. But he plays the game the right way. But he plays it with a competitive nature. But he's having fun out there. And the people over there are so upset because they want him to play for the French team.
Right.
And he chose, he could have played for the Cameroon team as well.
Right.
But he chose to play for the U.S. team. Now, word is that in 2028, he may, if he's still playing, he may play for the Cameroon team.
Yeah.
But he wanted to win the medal. So he went with the U.S. team. A lot of people in France, they're upset. Yeah, they boo him.
And for those that maybe haven't followed closely, France, meanwhile, has upset the field and made it to the final. They had a huge semifinal win yesterday with Wembayama and some of the other guys. They've had a rocky road to get there. They've lost a bunch of games. They barely made it into the medal round, but they've gotten hot. There's going to be an electric atmosphere for the final, which is tomorrow afternoon
3:30 Eastern.
3:30 Eastern, so 2:30 our time. And it's going to be a snake pit. They're going to boo Embiid every time he gets the ball. They're going to be all over. And the U.S. is favored by 15 or 16 points, I think. But anything can happen, as we found out yesterday, right?
Yeah, anything can happen. And even you look at this U.S. team, and people are upset at Steve Kerr because he's not. They feel he's not playing all the guys. Jason Tatum for the second game out of all of these games, he didn't play. Not 1 minute. He did not step on a court, and people are upset about that. But I was listening to Windhurst this morning. He was like, "Listen, you got to understand how many times in basketball you go 12 deep and it works.
Yeah, you don't do that.
You can't never do that. Yeah,
this isn't everybody gets to play. It's an all-star game.
Absolutely. Even when you have a collection of the greatest players in the world, you can't play 12. You can't go 12 deep. No. It messes up the whole rotation. You just can't do it. So you have guys like Jason Tatum sitting on the bench, Halliburton sitting on the bench. Who else? Devin Booker's not playing as many minutes. Drew Holiday's not. Derek White, he's not playing minutes. You got to understand when you go over there that, listen, we're here just to win a gold medal. I want to play. I want to be out there. But if I don't play the minutes I think I should play, you can't be upset because you had to have known this before you got there. You cannot. And I repeat, you cannot go 12 deep when you're trying to win the game, especially in the Olympics when the rules are so much different than it is in the NBA.
So this is what I'm working towards because it was a great event. And I started thinking, what are the greatest sporting events that have happened during a, quote, work day, right? Because I'm sure some of you listening might have said, I would have loved to have watched that game, but I had to work. Yeah. Right. Or I got sidetracked with my day and I didn't see it. So what are the greatest events that have taken place during the workday?
Now we should have a lot because March Madness, men's and women.
Yes. Men's and women. And look, maybe you just want to text in and talk about your experience watching that game yesterday because it was a heck of a game. 615-737-1025. Our call and text line is driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. But we need a little help on greatest sporting events that took place during the workday. March Madness clearly comes to mind. Those first couple of days, those Thursday, Fridays, and I'll give you one that it wasn't a great event for me, but it was a big upset. My former coach, Eddie Fogler, my coach at Vanderbilt, was coaching South Carolina. I was all hyped up on them. They had an unbelievable season. This was 1997. They beat Kentucky. And Ron Mercer at Kentucky on senior day at Rupp Arena to go 15-1 in the SEC. Coach Fogler, NCAA Coach of the Year. South Carolina, a 2 seed. And I'm thinking, okay, go Coach Fogler. This will be great. Great tournament run coming. They played one of those early day games against Coppin State. Mm-hmm. Coppin State, a 15 seed. Coppin State beat them. It was amazing, but not if you were rooting for South Carolina. But it was a great sporting event, a 15 over a 2. This was before any 16 seed ever won. Both of the 16 seeds that have won here in the last few years, those were night games. But I was thinking about buzzer beaters, great games that took place during the day. Dylan's got one right off the bat on our text line. That is a great one. MTSU beating Michigan State.
That's what I was just about to say.
I didn't want to be the one
I didn't
want to
bring it up. I did not want to bring it up.
You have tried to purge that from your memory. That's what happened.
Who said that?
Dylan.
Dylan, damn you, Dylan.
Come on, Dylan.
You knew exactly what you were doing.
You're ruining DMase's Friday.
But no, I was thinking of that too.
Yeah.
I was thinking of the Michigan State and MTSU game.
Maybe some race fans have some races that got pushed back a day for rain. I know there's been some like Daytona 500s that have been played on Monday. I know there was a famous U.S. Open that went to a one-on-one 18-hole playoff involving Tiger Woods. I remember that being a big deal. That was and Tiger won it with the bad knee, if I remember correctly. That was I don't even know what year. 2008, 2009, somewhere in there. Was it 08?
Iconic shot where it just stopped at the hole of the pin and dropped in.
Well, that was the Masters. That was the Masters on a Sunday. There was a U.S. Open that he tied at the end of and instead of just a playoff, 1-hole playoff, 2-hole playoff, whatever it is, they have a 18-hole one-on-one playoff. and I forget the guy's name. It was Rocco something or other. Somebody will help me on this. But it went on a Monday.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody can help me on that one. But it was a great round that took place on a Monday throughout the day. But everybody's working. It wasn't a holiday or anything.
2008. I don't know how to pronounce his last name, but Rocco Mediate.
Rocco Mediate. Rocco Mediate.
Okay.
Yeah, kind of a big time underdog. Might as well have been like Rocky Balboa. He's going up against Tiger Woods.
But I'm almost thinking it will be, because there are not many sports that operate during the day on a weekday, like around that noon or 11 to 4 or 11 to 3. There's not many sports. We only get into it. It only happens really during March Madness, with the men's and women, the Olympics, because of the time delay. And even when you're over it, when they bring it back to the U.S., you still will have some events that will be must-watch TV. It may not be a final, but it may be a prelim with two fast individuals or whatever, or a basketball game or in the day, and it might turn out to be a good game. But the way we know the way sports is constructed, not many games are played on a weekday, but baseball, and that's really about it. I mean, you have basketball, but that's at night.
Yes, and so that's what makes this a kind of a slim category here.
Yeah,
and some people who are a little bit older might be able to help me on this, but for years, the World Series, they never played the World Series at night up until the 70s,
seriously?
the 1970s. Yeah, all of the games. They had night baseball, but the tradition of the World Series was always to play in the afternoon. And so there's people from that generation would always tell stories about sneaking the radio into class so you could listen to the game while school was going on. So maybe you've got some stories about that. Greatest World Series games played during the day.
Were there any NBA like playoff games back in the day during the weekday?
I don't think so. Not that would be during the workday.
Yeah.
You know, they'd start early in the evening. Like if you lived out west, I guess
you would start early.
Some games would start 4 or 5 o'clock probably. But anyway, let's see what we got. There's one that has surfaced that I think is an interesting one that we'll start when we come back.
Bet not involve anything with Michigan State, okay?
We've got a few other Blue Raider fans going, yeah,
damn Blue Raider. No, I love
Blue Raiders.
Coach did a wonderful
That was a 15
job.
over too. That was during the day, no question. I remember right where I was in D.C. Predators taking on the Capitals that day.
We were on air. I think we were on air.
Yeah,
when they lost.
That was amazing.
Man.
615-737-1025. If you want to comment on yesterday's game, if you watched it, where were you? Did you have to sneak away from work? Were you out of work? Were you driving? Or did you, like me, completely miss the boat on that? U.S. comes from 17 down to beat Serbia, still down 11 in the fourth quarter with 7 minutes to go. Came back and won it to get to the gold medal game. They lose that game, it's over. They don't win the gold. The best they could do is win the bronze.
Bronze, yes.
Now they got to beat France in France against a huge crowd. They should be okay, but it's going to be quite the atmosphere, I think.
Oh, you know it will. If they had lost that game. Okay, and I know we're dealing with a hypothetical here. Had they lost that game, that may have gone down as one of the greatest upsets. Even though that Serbia team is good, they got probably the greatest player or the best player in the world right now in Jokic. You could say it's LeBron splitting hairs, but I think it's Jokic at this point in time. But this Serbia team was a sort of an NBA team. Again, I was listening to Windhorst. He said this team has been preparing for this for the last 10 years. They've been preparing for this, like a game like this, for the last 10 years, waiting for Nikola Jokic to get in his prime so they can win a medal. So they've been eyeing this Olympics for them to have an opportunity to win a medal. So to me, had they lost that game to U.S., that may have been one of the greatest upsets, because people expect them to win every game, whether they win by 10 or they win by 20. They expect them to win. And had they lost that game, I don't know, man. We'd have been talking about this for a long time.
I don't know what the point spread was yesterday on that game, but if they had lost, this is one of those where if you win, it's like, oh, great, they won. You know, if you were watching, it was a great drama. It probably rallied some people. But like we talked about when we had our comparison, this team versus the dream team of 92, you can only lose, right? If you win, you're expected to win. If you lose, it's like, how could you possibly lose? But it almost happened yesterday. But the Serbian team is so much better than whatever the best team was back in 92. It's not even close, right? Because Jokic is literally maybe the best player in the world right now.
Exactly.
He's multiple MVP of the league, right?
Yeah, and that's why, Charles Barkley came out and said he was so disappointed. He basically ragged the US team because, the fashion which they won. But what he doesn't realize, and what Perk said, is that this is not 1992 when the world was, a decade behind the NBA, or probably even more than that. This is 2024, where half of these guys play in the NBA. You got the greatest player right now in the NBA, Nikola Jokic, is from overseas. So you can't look at these teams any longer and say, we should dominate them. Now, there are some teams you're just going to dominate because they just don't have the players you have. But when you're talking to a Serbia team or a France team, eventually, once Victor Wembanyama really get going, that's going to be a team that the U.S. is going to have to compete with every 4 years, because they have these teams overseas have NBA players. You can't just walk in like Charles said in 1992, who's Angola? Angola's in trouble. No, it ain't like that anymore.
You have to scout.
Exactly. You really have to scout these teams.
All right. When we come back, we're going to get your thoughts. What are the best games ever played during a weekday, during a work day, where you missed the game or you had to sneak away from work? Is there a March Madness moment that pops out? And if you want to discuss this game, were you watching this game yesterday? It was amazing. It took all of the heroics of Steph, KD, LeBron, Embiid, the players in the world, for the USA to beat Serbia. Barely had to come back to do it. Was that one of the best games? Maybe the best game ever played during the day, during a workday? Let us know what you think. 615-737-1025 on our call text line. And at noon today, I've got the three-way trade that is going to be a win-win-win for the Steelers, for Brandon Ayuk, for the 49ers, and for the Titans. I'm going to tell you about it at noon. I've got the trade. Stay tuned. We're coming back with more. Just getting cranked up here on Willy and DMase, 102.5 The Game. Willy and DMase broadcasting for the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville Studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. We're talking about great sporting events that took place during a workday, and several of you have hit on the text line the game that we just heard, the Al Michaels iconic call, The Miracle on Ice from 1980. Scott in Hendersonville says, no internet, no social media. Broadcasters mostly kept the result embargoed. Most Americans didn't know the outcome until watching the famous call hours after it happened. And that's the nuance of it, is I do remember that day and all the I just remember I knew what happened. So I found out that they had won. But back then, of course, they didn't have it on live at all.
Yeah, you're right.
ABC had all of the rights, and you would flip on your TV that night, and everything that happened that day, and this was taking place in Lake Placid, New York, they did it as if you didn't know what happened. Now, if you were listening to the radio and news reports, you could find out who was winning. But Eric Heiden was winning all the gold medals in speed skate. I remember all this. So there was a sense that you knew. So it wasn't the same as it is today. Can you imagine if the Miracle on Ice today were taking place during the day? Like, that would have been amazing if they had televised it, but they didn't do it that way back then.
No, they didn't televise it. They replayed it. But the good part about it was, there was no social media. So if you could make sure.
Yeah,
if you saw it, that means you were looking for it. Like,
right.
If you saw the score, that means you actually went to look for the score, because it was just in the newspaper or they talked about it on the radio or television. So you had to physically go look for it in order to find the score.
So that is correct. It did take place during the day, but it wasn't like yesterday where you could be watching it or you would be kicking yourself because you missed it live, like the U.S. comeback yesterday against Serbia. Maybe you can just call and text at 615-737-1025 and say, that wasn't that big of a deal, unless they lost the game. But I thought it was a heck of a sporting event. Yeah,
it was. And I know many people are they look at the U.S. team and they figure, they're going to win. But if you really pay attention to basketball, you understand that, listen, there are going to be some countries that just can't compete with the U.S. But there are like 3 or 4 teams that on a good day, a good shooting day, they can beat the U.S. and Serbia is one of those teams. So it's not, you just don't walk into the gymnasium and roll out the ball and the NBA players or the U.S. is just going to beat you by 50 anymore. That's not going to happen.
Another texters, and we have to get our category for unnamed texters today. We got one? Motown Heroes. Like, what do you got?
Let's go Motown Heroes. Let's go Eddie Ruffin.
Eddie Ruffin texts in, when Wrigley Field didn't have lights and day baseball was a thing, you either watched it on WGN. And those were run-of-the-mill games. I think Kerry Wood struck out 20 in an afternoon game at Wrigley Field, but that wouldn't have captured everybody like that. That's a good point, and that was fun to have as a kid. You kind of like, the Cubs are home. I got something to watch after school. So that is technically during the workday. When my Mets were in a playoff run in '86, they played an afternoon game. Or I remember coming home from school, getting there after the game had already started. They used to play the league championship series. One game would be afternoon, the other game would be at night.
Okay.
And so there were some great late afternoon LCS games. In '86, the Mets beat the Astros in 16 innings. So it started in the afternoon. It didn't end until pretty deep into the night. So that would probably be on my radar. I'm trying to think of other great games that took place during a workday. Merle in Mount Juliet texts in, I caught the game the last few minutes of the third quarter, and man, I was worried.
I was too.
I was listening to updates on radio on the way home. I was afraid to watch it, but my 8-year-old son watched the last quarter with me and asked why they waited until the end to win.
Just like an 8-year-old.
Why did they wait till the end to win?
It's like, well,
we're
why
supposed
did they
to win
do that
easy.
at the end?
Good stuff.
You're right. Yeah. Why did they wait till the last quarter to sort of start playing basketball? I'm with you.
USA versus Russia hockey in the Olympics, the shootout game. Yes, that would have been Sochi in 2014. That was a heck of a game. I guess that was during the day. I don't remember exactly on that. I'll take his word for it. But yeah, there were some great Olympic hockey
now,
games.
when did because I know everyone was enthralled in I think it might have been the 80. What year was Greg Louganis just eating up the medals?
He would have been in the 80s,
diving.
So 84,
Yeah.
88.
Where he was just, I mean, he had the whole just captivated on him because of what he was doing. Is that the year he busted his head too?
Oh,
off the diving board.
That's a great question. I remember exactly. I can visualize
he
that
came
happening,
back
but
and
I
won
don't
a medal,
remember what
I think.
Yes,
he came back and won the gold,
88 or
if I'm
92.
not mistaken.
He did win the gold,
Yeah.
I think. Yeah.
So because they do a lot of these diving during the day, so I was wondering if that may have been one. But like you said, I mean, during the day you don't get many sports unless it's March Madness, the Olympics, or an occasional, not anymore, but an occasional, MLB game in the playoffs. You may get that, but I don't think you get that anymore. Games that are played in between that 11 a.m. and 2 o'clock.
And that is what's fun if you're able to watch. And this is the trick this year of the Olympics. For example, when DMase and I are on from 11 to 2, we have the TVs on the Olympics, and we're seeing big moments happen. Like we watched Simone Biles do her thing while we were on the air. And then you can watch it again in prime time, but of course you already know,
like, I know
unless you are really good at shutting yourself off from the world.
Okay, there's another thing that we need to talk about, Willie. And I know people are going to continue to give their greatest games that they've seen during their work week and the work day, which is from 11 to about 2 o'clock. So keep them coming. Keep the texts if you want to call 615-737-1025. But Noah Lyles.
This is another good story here.
This need to be talked about. Noah Lyles obviously won 100, gold medalist in 100. He was trying to double down. He would have been the first U.S. runner to win both the 1 and the 2 since Carl Lewis, I think, did it. And that was mid 90s, late 90s, mid 80s, late 80s.
Yeah.
Mid 80s, late 80s, somewhere in there.
84, I think, is when he won it.
Yeah, so he was,
I believe
40
he
years.
was
the last American to do it.
He's the last person, I think. Bolt did
Usain Bolt.
Last American. Bolt, so it was 40 years ago. So
exactly.
He's trying to do something that hadn't been done by a U.S. track athlete since 84.
Exactly. So he wins the gold. He was one of the favorites, along with the Jamaican, to win the 200. He runs the 200, comes in third. He bronzes. Come to find out, they already knew that he had COVID. Now, I understand COVID isn't like it was 4 years ago. I get that. But that's not really the question. The question is, when does an official step in, a coach step in and say, because you understand, Noah Lyles, he has really bad asthma. And asthma and COVID don't mix. When does the coach and official step in and say, hey, you may not want to run this race for health reasons? When do someone step in and sort of protect the athlete from himself? Because Noah Lyles has pulled out of the Olympics. I think he had 2 more races and they both were relays, but he pulled out of the Olympics because it wasn't necessarily that he had COVID. He just couldn't breathe. He didn't want to chance it again. So when is it that the officials or a coach needs to step in and say, hey, listen, I understand the moment. I get that. But what you're dealing with from a health standpoint, and you have this, you may not want to chance it. I'm just, and again, it's hard to tell someone that has worked the last 4 years to put themselves in a position to win a gold medal for the U.S. in a race that they've been running, for years.
I thought, it's interesting because we didn't find out until after the race that this was going on. Had that been made public in the day leading up to the race, I think you would have had quite the debate, right, by some. Now, I was listening to Mike Tirico, and I heard Lyles's interview after the race where he talked about what he did. He woke up after he won the 100. He's like, "Oh man, I don't feel good." Got tested. Sure enough, it's COVID. He felt well enough. He immediately quarantined, or he went away from the Olympic Village. Did his best not to contaminate others. It's not the same as it was, like you said. And the Olympic policy, this is important to note. It's not like he broke the rules to keep it secret. They know that people will get COVID. These are world-class athletes. The health risk is fairly well known now that, for the most part, very healthy people are going to be okay. But he himself, like you said, has an asthma situation. So these are the complications that you have to know about, which is why it's smart to get tested and everything like that. But there was no policy against competing, even with the virus. Now, that would have been completely different in Tokyo, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, because that's when they were sort of in the height.
So it is interesting. Yeah. I don't know what the world response is to the way he handled it, but it was, it was so interesting to watch that commentary this year and comparing it to what that would have been like.
Oh my goodness!
In the last Olympics,
it would have.
Thank goodness,
it would have been a huge story because he would have had to withdraw from the 200,
and he did kind of keep it secret.
Yeah, he did. I mean,
to as many people as he could. Yeah,
they didn't. It wasn't known to the public until after the race. No one knew in the public that he had COVID, and again, it's unless you have sort of pre-existing issues, it's really, I'm not going to say it's not a big deal, but you tend to get over it now. You see what I'm saying? Your body tends to get over it now.
And it's not like this. Our texture points out, athletes are not in the Olympics required to report COVID depending on how they feel. It's on the athlete and their coach. This will likely be his last chance. So who could blame him?
Exactly. And that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Because it's not like you can't be sick in the Olympics. You got to wait 4 more years. And if this is your best shot, this is it.
Exactly.
And it clearly affected him running.
Oh, yeah. You saw it. It was, you can just see he was struggling to sort of get to that top gear. It was like he could never get to that top gear. He got there enough to win a bronze, and he even struggled to do that. But you just saw that once he got like 25, 30 meters in, like he wasn't going to win that race, and he might not win a medal, but he obviously end up sucking it up and end up getting the bronze. But it did affect him. And those are one of those situations. Again, I'm not making a big deal about it because of it's 4 years removed and they know a lot more than they did back then. But it goes to the principle of, when do you protect the athlete from himself? When do you step in as a coach or an official and say, hey, listen, just like the whole concussion stuff and the spotters in the stands, if they see something, they point and say, he got to go because I'm protecting him. When do you protect the athlete from himself?
Yeah. I think their knowledge of the whole situation now and the difference now in 3 years is very big. Couple other texts just to rifle through these. 1972, Paul Henderson scores the winning goal in the last minute to win the 8-game Summit Series between Team Canada and the Soviet Union. In Canada, this was absolutely enormous at the time. Top Canadian iconic moment in the country's history. Paul was in the 9th grade watching it on the high school cafeteria screen, Peterborough, Ontario.
I remember that.
Black and white TV.
I remember you used to have to watch the Olympics and stuff in the cafeteria. They always had it on in the cafeteria. And if the teacher, it depends on what kind of which teacher you had. Like my social studies teacher, Miss Keys. I love Miss Keys. I think everybody in the school loved Miss Keys. But Miss Keys, like stuff like that would come on. She would like the last 20 minutes of class. She'd be like, all right,
let's flip it on.
Flip it on and see what's going on.
1960 World Series, Yankees versus Pirates, Game 7. Bill Mazeroski, the walk-off home run. That had never happened before. Big upset. The Yankees went down. That was during the day. We're talking about great sporting events that happened during a work day. So this is a couple other notes on that. So,
here's one. Did you say this one already? 1999 when Chastain made the PK to win the
Oh,
FIFA
yeah.
World Cup.
I thought that was a Saturday. I thought
don't know.
I was at a wedding when that happened.
He took
I'm
off his shirt,
assuming the wedding was the.
photo.
I remember that game for sure. I was at a wedding when that happened. That had to be a Saturday, unless the wedding was on a Friday and I didn't.
The wedding could
Did
have
I
been on
just
a
lose
Friday.
track of the days?
Yeah, you might have lost.
It's possible.
Yeah,
I thought that was a Saturday. Wait, okay, but if that was a weekday, for
Yeah.
sure, I would say that's a thumbs up. All right, when we come back, I'm going to set the Titans coming up on Saturday, preseason opener. Great opportunity for Rand Carthon to communicate with the 49ers and John Lynch. Willie here has got the solution. I'm just going to get everybody going. DMase is going to be John Lynch, GM of the 49ers, and Nick Frazier is going to be the GM of the Steelers. And we're going to work this out. I've got the proposal, and we're going to set the table in the next segment on how they get to this, where it is right now in the Ayuk situation. And you got to ask yourself, have they reached a point of no return here? Is he going to be able to play for the 49ers this year? I think it's a fair question right now because most people are like, they'll work it out. He's going to stay with San Francisco. Okay, if that's the case, fine. But if not, how would you solve this? We're going to talk about it when we come back. Stay tuned. You're listening to Willy and DMase here on 102.5 The Game.
Lean a little bit closer, see roses really smell like boo boo boo. Yeah, roses really smell like boo boo boo.
I said it earlier. I'm gonna have this. I'm gonna have the 49ers, the Steelers, and the Titans all smelling like roses. But Nick countered.
I love that song.
So, what do roses really smell like? That's just going to be the question. We're going to get into that in just a moment. But DMase, you wanted to tie up a couple loose ends on our
tie
Olympic
this,
discussion.
Yeah, let's tie this up, and then we're going to be done with it and move on to our next topics. Again, people, when we are talking, and I know sometimes people you come in and out of the station at different times. I understand that, but people, I've said on several occasions as I'm talking through this whole scenario when no allows, I said that it's not like it used to be 4 years ago when it just came out and people were in a frantic and panicking.
Right. Didn't know about it.
Exactly. Didn't know. It's not like that anymore. I didn't say he couldn't run. The man has chronic asthma. If he has the flu, that doesn't go well with asthma. My sister passed away because of asthma. Okay. She had an asthma attack and never regained consciousness. So I understand it somewhat. And you just can't say, oh, it's nothing but the flu. Well, if this man has asthma real bad with the flu, he should, that's a bad mixture, let alone COVID. Yeah. Again, I understand that it's not like it was. And I'm not saying that, listen, he shouldn't have ran. All I'm saying is, as a former athlete, when does officials or your coach, knowing your history, your medical history, when do they step in and say, hey, you may want to back off? I understand this situation is probably different because it's the Olympics and he may not get a shot to run again in 4 more years when they have it in LA. But I said, when do you protect the player from himself? I didn't say that, hey, listen, he needed not to run because he was going to infect everybody and everybody. No, that's not what I said. He is dealing with asthma. He has asthma real bad. That's why he had to get carted off. That's why he pulled out of the Olympics. He had 1 or 2 more events that he could have won gold medal.
4x100 is a big one. Yeah.
That he could have won a gold medal in. He pulled out. Why? Because he has really bad asthma to go along with COVID. That's what I'm saying. Listen to when I'm talking. I explain everything, people.
Yeah, this is about making a major decision.
It's just a decision. I'm not
with
saying
the health risk, with the asthma involved.
Exactly.
It's not. We're not trying to go back through the whole COVID.
Yeah, I'm not trying to
Nobody
do
wants
that.
to do
I mean, hell, I don't want to go do that. Shoot. Man.
It would be interesting to see what happens in the 4x100 now without him in there. All right. So let's find. This is where I got the idea for what I'm about to propose at noon today, the 3-way trade between 3 great GMs, Donick, Mason, and Frazier. This is Michael Lombardi on the GM Shuffle talking about where the Ayuk situation is right now, where he's not practicing. Remember, the 49ers are coming in to play the Titans tomorrow. And this has still been unresolved. This has been lingering now for over a month. But they just cannot come to the right agreement. Ayuk wants more money. The 49ers have a budget. They're trying to win right now, and he has not agreed to terms. And so he is exploring trade opportunities. So here's what Lombardi had to say on the GM Shuffle.
Is it possible that the Niners have deals in place? Because that's what people were kind of reporting and making it seem like, oh, the Niners have all these deals in place. They're just waiting for Ayuk to pick which team he wants to go to and which team he wants to sign with. What's actually happening? Like, is there an agreement with the Niners and the Steelers already, and the Steelers are just negotiating with Ayuk, and that's what's holding this whole thing up?
Well, there's 2 things that have to take place, right? I mean, there's 2 things that have to happen. They have to get Ayuk under contract, okay? That's the number one thing. And then they've got to satisfy the 49ers in the trade. Because let's be clear here. Everybody thinks Ayuk has all the leverage. He has some leverage. He has the leverage in determining what team he goes to. He doesn't have the leverage in making the 49ers say yes.
Yeah.
So, he doesn't want to go to New England. He did them a huge favor, right? He doesn't want to go there. So he says, okay, I'm not interested in that. No problem. You don't want to go there? You don't want to pay? They're offering you whatever it is. I want to go to Pittsburgh. Okay, great. Well, Pittsburgh's not giving us a receiver back that we want. So That doesn't. So we're saying no. We'll just keep saying no. We're going to say no until we satisfy our trade demands. Why would we say yes? So they do have it. Look, they know they're not going to have the player. So at this point, what do we care? We don't have the player. Like, I'll just keep saying no until I get the deal I want. I mean, the Steelers sending a first round pick does them no good. It does them no good. This is kind of like you almost need. This is almost like in the NBA where you need a third party to come in because some team has the assets to be able to trade that the Steelers don't. The Steelers' first round pick could be somewhere between 18 and 32. That doesn't do the 49ers any good this year, right? It does them no good this year.
Okay. Third team, third party. Enter Rand Carthon. Steelers want Ayuk. Ayuk would love to play for the Steelers. Steelers are going to give him the deal he wants. 49ers have come to grips. Hey, maybe Ayuk just doesn't want to play. He's going to be a pain. We're trying to win. But we need a player in return. We can't just take a first-round pick. That's not enough. We're trying to win right now. We can't lose Ayuk and have that hole in our roster that we can't replace right now. So you need a third party. Enter the Titans. I've got the deal. Three-way trade, Titans, Steelers, and 49ers. When we come back, I will propose the deal to Nick, who is representing the Steelers, DMase representing the Niners. I'm representing the Titans. I'm going to solve this. It's a win-win-win in my book. Tell me, would you go for it when we come back? And then we want to hear from you whether this is a good deal or not. 615-737-1025. Stay tuned. The three-way deal proposal is next on Willy and DMase. Hour number 2, Willy and DMase here on 102.5 The Game. It is time now for a proposed three-way trade. A think tank. Would this work? Is this a win-win-win? Or is it at least a win for the Titans? We just heard the GM shuffle talking about with Michael Lombardi, former GM, the impasse right now between the 49ers and the Steelers in the whole Brandon Ayuk has requested a trade. It's becoming a pain for the 49ers. They've got other issues too. They've got to think about Deebo Samuel. They've got to think about signing Brock Purdy. They've got to get Trent Williams, their all-world left tackle, locked up. And here's Ayuk with the hold in, still wanting to be traded, doesn't want to play for basically $14 million, which is
You almost need this is almost like in the NBA where you need a third party to come in because some team has the assets to be able to trade.
Some team has the assets. How about the Titans? Because according to Lombardi, the Steelers and the 49ers have talked, but the Steelers don't want to give any players off their roster to the 49ers in compensation for Ayuk. They might be willing to give Ayuk the money he wants, but draft picks are not of interest to the 49ers. They're trying to win the Super Bowl this year on the last year of Brock Purdy's rookie contract. So here's my proposal. I'm Rand Carthon.
Okay, bring it.
I hear this. And yes. And so I call up DMase.
Okay.
I say, DMase, Willy here. I hear you're having trouble with Ayuk. He doesn't want to play. You're not going to sign him. It's becoming a pain. I have a solution for you.
Okay, but first you need to call my secretary, and then she got to patch me through. Derek, Willy's on the phone. I'm GM from the Titans. Oh man, gosh. All right, put him through. Put him through.
I had to go through third party to get
put
to
him
DMase.
through.
I thought we were close. I thought I had your direct
We
line.
are close, but this is about business now.
I had the direct line. I had to go through the secretary.
This is about business.
I
No,
thought
you did. You called
Yeah.
my cell, but I gave it to her to tell you. Okay, give him a second. Let me get him.
I thought I was going to get blocked for a second. I thought he was going to block me. That's the whole deal when it got down the tubes. All right, so let's patch in Nick Frazier in Pittsburgh. Nick, are you ready for this proposal?
This is the voicemail box. You're trying to get contact.
I got ghosted by the Steelers.
Oh, sorry, Willie. My
This
voicemail
is-
called
I
in.
can't
What
get
you
this-
need, Willie?
I can't get this off the ground. All right, you guys have been working back and forth. I have a solution for you.
Okay.
All right. I'm going to take DeAndre Hopkins.
Okay. So
And I'm going to conclude that if I'm the Titans, I don't think I can win the Super Bowl this year. I like what Calvin Ridley is showing me. I think I've got enough wide receivers to get by, but this is an opportunity that I think I can better my team. You guys are in a pinch. This deal's not going to happen without me, so I want something good here. So here is my proposed deal. DMase, the 49ers, you get a first-round pick from the Steelers, and you get D-Hop from the Titans. So just ponder that. That's who you get.
Okay.
Nick, the Steelers, you get your man. You get Brandon Ayuk. And I get a second-round pick from the Steelers. So you're giving up, Nick, a first and a second to get Ayuk.
and a player, right?
Nope. You're
Okay.
getting a first and a second. You're giving up a first and a second. You get Ayuk. That's the Steelers.
Okay.
DMase, you get D-Hop and a first-round pick. Because I think
I
you
get
have
the Steelers first round pick
you get the Steelers first-round pick
and D Hop.
and D-Hop.
Okay.
That satisfies, I think, what you want, which is you're getting big assets back. You have the leverage here because the bottom line is you can keep Ayuk, and he can be unhappy, but he can't go anywhere
Okay.
unless he just wants to sit out and get fined. So you don't have to deal him, so you need to come out well in this.
Okay.
So I'm giving you the receiver you need to plug in the short term, and you get a first-round pick. D-Hop, I know is hurt, but I'm going to give you the medicals, D-Mace, because we're tight. I'm not going to try to withhold anything. We know he's got a knee issue, but we think he's going to be ready to go. You guys are going to be fine, but you'll have D-Hop for the stretch run to try to win a Super Bowl.
Okay.
Future Hall of Famer. And I'm the Titans. I'm saying, look, I have to take the long view here. I don't have a third-round pick in this coming draft because I went and got L'Jarius Sneed. I've looked at my team so far in the preseason. I like where it's going. A lot of positives, but look, this year is setting the table for future years. I need assets, so I need a second-round pick. So you're giving up a first and a second. So let me start with this. Nick, would you give up that much, a first and a second, to get Ayuk? Because you're going to pay him the money he wants. He wants in that big-time receiver range, 30 million-ish.
Anywhere from 27 to 30.
Can we negotiate?
Okay, yeah, yes.
Deal?
This is my proposal. You guys can come with a counter proposal.
I know the Steelers just drafted Roman Wilson. We'd like to offer him to you, our rookie wide receiver we just got. We'd like to offer him to you instead of your second-round pick.
Roman Wilson.
Yes.
So where was he picked in the draft?
I believe it's top two.
I need
top
to do
two, like top two
okay.
rounds.
I'll take that back to my people. But so you're not saying completely no way, Jose. You're saying okay. Let's talk about this.
I'd like to keep my picks. I'd like to keep some draft capital.
Okay, I'm looking at this as a Niners GM. I want to win right now, and getting D-Hop doesn't really truly push the needle in regards to now that puts me over the hump to win a championship. He doesn't put me over the hump. And then the first round pick, I don't know in what range is it going to be. You predict Steelers are going to be a good team. So that pick,
they're usually not bad.
Because they're getting Brandon Ayuk and the guys that they got. You didn't ask for Pickens. So they got Brandon Ayuk and Pickens. This draft pick that I'm getting is going to be very low. You got to. I need another pick.
I don't know what you're talking about. Well, we have Russell Wilson as a quarterback. Well, that may not pan out. I don't know what you're talking about.
Because this pick in the first round is going to be a low pick. I want to win now, today, and tomorrow. So in order for me to win tomorrow, I need another pick. Because your first round pick is going to be, I anticipate it being a low first round pick. And that's not helping me. It's not helping me at all. So I need another pick.
Okay.
Give me a first and a third along with D-Hop.
But where is that pick coming from? I don't have a third round pick. It's the Titans. I'm giving you D-Hop.
Yeah,
I'm giving you D-Hop. I'm not giving you D-Hop and a draft pick. So the draft pick's got to come from.
It's coming from me.
It's coming from
the Steelers.
Yes.
But I need something for D-Hop. So I need compensation for D-Hop. That's coming from the Steelers. I get the other draft pick. You don't get both draft picks. See, that's what I'm saying.
If I'm the Niners, I hold all the cards. This deal doesn't happen if I walk away from the table. It doesn't.
That's right. That's why I think you're getting handsomely rewarded by getting D-Hop and a first round pick.
But that first round pick isn't doing anything for me today.
It
may not even for tomorrow because, again, I anticipate.
Right. It's probably the bottom half of the first round.
I'm getting that pick from the Steelers. Now, if I'm getting from the Titans, I can't even be sure that it's going to be a high pick of the Titans because now you're getting Brandon Ayuk. No, you're not getting Brandon Ayuk.
Right.
You're not. You're getting the second round pick.
I'm just getting the second round pick from the Steelers.
So I would rather get the Titans first round pick because I know if they're getting rid of D-Hop, then they're going to be diminished as a team somewhat. So the likelihood of them picking a little bit higher is better for me. So I need something
you're saying
from the
that
Titans.
Your counter proposal is to swap first round picks.
Yeah, I need
the Steelers and the Titans swap first round picks, and you get the higher of the two.
Exactly.
The Titans get the lower of the two.
Or I get the first round pick from the Steelers, but I need something back. Someone else has to give me another pick.
Okay, so somewhere in here, either of us would have to throw in another pick to make it work.
I feel like this would be pretty fair. Mm-hmm. The Steelers, us, we give the Titans Roman Wilson, the 84th overall pick in this year's draft, right?
Okay.
He wants
from Michigan.
The Titans want my second round draft pick. Mm-hmm. How about I give you that second round draft pick, okay? Mm-hmm. And you get, I guess, the Titans first round pick.
I get a Titans first round, your second, and D-Hop.
There you go.
I take that. Your first, his second,
I'm not
D-Hop.
giving up D-Hop and a second. I'm trying to help
But
you
you're
guys.
getting
There's
Roman
no
Wilson
deal.
from the Steelers.
But that's it.
What else do you
But
want
you
to
don't
offer?
need. I mean,
I want I want the second round pick that will help me because I gave up my third last year
How
to get
about
Snead.
how about a second round pick in 2026?
Well, this second round pick I think would have to
That's
be
what I'm
maybe
talking
in
about.
2026.
I'm not talking a first and a second in the same draft. I'm saying give me a first this year and give me one of y'all seconds for next year along with D-Hop.
Sold. You take my second round. That's fine. I'm okay with that. I
So
see
we can make the
something.
deal happen.
So
if I get the Steelers
so my
first
proposal is not
in
completely
2020,
crazy.
yeah, it's not.
No.
No, it's not. I get
Okay.
your first in 2025, your second in 2026, along with D-Hop if I'm the Niners. So that puts me in a position where I can still win now.
Okay. So that you're okay with that. You would give up that much. You'd give up an extra asset. So the Titans, I give up D-Hop, and I'm getting what? I'm getting either Roman Wilson or your second round pick in 2026?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm not completely crazy. You guys don't think I'm nuts if I'm the Titans to do this. Now, I would love to hear from Titans fans. Would this be a smart way to go where the Titans are? Because this is the essential question, right? In Nashville. Everybody, they could probably care less whether Ayuk ends up on the Steelers or stays with the 49ers. It is probably the biggest buzz of
I think they
training
would rather
camp
him
right
stay
now.
on the 49ers because the Steelers, that will be an obstacle you have to go through in AFC.
Yeah. But is that a win for the Titans to give up D-Hop for essentially a second round pick? Let's put Roman Wilson aside for now.
Oh, definitely. I would take that if I'm giving D-Hop and you're giving me a second round pick in return. Yeah, I take that.
Because that's essentially the net result for the Titans is to facilitate this trade. They could give up D-Hop in theory if the Niners think D-Hop is the answer.
Yes.
That's the question. Do you think D-Hop could help the Niners?
I think D-Hop
and keep them a Super Bowl contender?
Yes,
and rid them of the Ayuk headache.
But we're banking on Pearsall to really be he needs to have a good rookie year. That's the only way this can happen because you're taking away a number one receiver in Brandon Ayuk. I'm sending him away. I'm getting D-Hop back, which is D-Hop is that sort of one, and he can be a two as well. But I need Pearsall to really hit so we don't miss the production of Ayuk that much. If Pearsall hits, I got D-Hop, I have Deebo Samuel, I have Christian McCaffrey in the backfield. Essentially, I'm still set up to win. Oh, by the way, I get the Steelers' first round pick, and then I get their second round pick in a
See, now that's not part of my proposal. You want even more.
But
I understand that the 49ers are sort of in the catbird seat. The problem is if I'm wearing you out and saying if I'm Rand Carthon, look, this is a headache you don't want. You already have to deal with Trent Williams. You got a lot of things going on here. I can alleviate your headache with Ayuk, and I'm giving you future assets and a guy that in the meantime can help you this year in D-Hop.
Yeah.
All right. So is that I want to throw it to the listeners here. 615-737-1025. Is this crazy? And would you think about doing it if you're Rand Carthon? If I called Rand right now and I got through the secretary, because I don't know Rand as well as I know you, DMase, I probably would have to go through
you would
the
have
main
to go
office. It's called the main office of Titans.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is Willie. I got a proposal for the GM. Can I get through to Rand Carthon? What was your name again? Excuse me. Then I would get like 2 or 3 other stations before I got to Rand.
Yeah, you would start on the first floor. That's the first phone that will ring. It's the phone. More than likely, it's the security. You'll get security first, and then the security is sending you off to someone else on the first floor. Then someone else on the first floor will say, "Hold on." Then they send you to someone on the second floor. Someone on the second floor says, "Okay, let me patch you in to his secretary." That's the third floor. So now you sit into the third floor, and then she says, "Okay, let me hold on for a second. Let me see if Rand's available."
And let's see if he's in a good mood.
And you hear footsteps on the hallway, and apparently Tommy from the NCAA still works there, and you hear him down the hallway. You hear the phone ringing. Tommy, phone. And Tommy answers the phone. Hey, how can I help you? Hey, Willie. Hey.
Do you know Rand Carthon, Tommy?
I think
I'm
we
trying
can
to get through. I got a great trade proposal for him. So would Rand just hang up the phone and say, "Willie, you're nuts," or would you say,
Okay,
is this a way to
again,
help the Titans in the long term? Or is this a net win to essentially give up D-Hop for a second-round pick?
That's all they're getting is a second-round pick. They're not getting anything else. No compensation pick. No. Okay,
No,
if D-Hop
would be it.
plays, I would almost rather.
Could it be a
I would
conditional
almost-
pick,
yeah,
a
I would
second that turns
almost-
into a first
Exactly.
if Ayuk goes off,
Yes,
basically,
exactly.
in some form? Okay, I'd be willing to. I don't want to take advantage of Nick here.
Mhm.
You're already asking for extra picks from him to start with.
Well,
but-
you're already giving Nick a first and a second. Somebody's giving Nick a first and a second. Is that me? No.
Nick
I'm
is giving up the picks
yeah,
to guy.
I'm giving up the
exactly.
picks.
Nick
You're
is
giving
giving
up
up
the
the
pick, the
picks
first
to
and the
get
second.
Ayuk.
I'm dishing a second-round pick.
A
to
first
the
and a
Titans.
so right now, my proposal is a first and a second.
Okay.
Because this was it was reported. Now I don't know how accurate it is, but the Patriots offered 2 firsts for Ayuk, which I think is insane. That's way too much.
Goodness.
That's way too much. Ayuk isn't that good, and the Patriots probably shouldn't make that deal happen. They're not
Considering what
not
type of
ready.
team they are. Yeah.
Yeah, they're not ready to be good. But Ayuk apparently doesn't really want to play for the Patriots. He is interested in playing for the Steelers, but the Steelers don't want to give the 49ers
A player
immediate
back.
help, a player back. That's where the Titans could help by giving them D-Hop. So we got a lot of people lining up on the phone and text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. So we've got Ask DMase coming up at 12:30. But so let's get to some of these calls. But what was your final point?
Could
on
it
this?
be just a player swap? Brandon Ayuk for Pickens. If y'all don't want, or if you want it,
But they're not doing that. That's
but
what
I'm
the
just saying.
Steelers are hung up on. They don't want to
Exactly. They
give
don't
a
wanna give away
receiver back to
Pickens,
the
yes.
49ers.
Yes.
That's what Lombardi said. That's why Lombardi brought up you need a third team that's got something that the 49ers want that would satisfy. That's why I thought of the Titans and
giving up
DeAndre
Hopkins
Yeah.
and a pick. So I mean,
Okay, so I'm not some people I do see some immediate feedback on the well, maybe this is the same guy. So let's get to Brad on line 1. So Brad, what do you think of this 3-way trade?
Oh, I think it's crazy. D-Hop, he's a 1,000-yard wide receiver, Hall of Famer. He's still got gas in the tank. He's invaluable to Will Levis and the team. The Titans have shown what they can do with draft picks with Farley and Burks. The only draft pick that really has done much is Big Jeff and Derrick Henry. They've struck out on almost all their first-round picks in the last few years. Now I know that was J-Rob, but still, you can't give up a Hall of Fame guy with a growing team and a young quarterback like that. I don't think the Titans would do anything with a second-round pick. And you're giving up a Hall of Famer. I think he still has a lot of gas in the tank.
Well,
but good conversation.
Okay,
Thank you,
but
Brad.
Brad, here's my counter to that. You can't just say, well, because they've screwed up picks before, we don't want to pick.
Yeah,
The only
you
way
can't.
you can improve and be better is to pick. And the more picks you have, the better chance you have of being better. To me, it comes down to how much will D-Hop help you this year? And what is the ceiling of that versus how valuable are future assets when you are moving into a new stadium? And we know your team's biggest issue right now is the lack of premier talent at 25 years and under because as Brad points out, they haven't drafted well.
Yeah, the draft picks haven't panned out. But Brad, you have to think about it from this standpoint. I know what you're saying in regards to D-Hop. He is a Hall of Famer. The guy still can play football, but I think the Titans are in a different place right now. If this was the Titans team of 3 years ago when they were making that run and you have D-Hop, then okay, let's roll with them. I'm not trading them away because now we are in a prime position to win, not just win games. We are the number 1 seed in the AFC. We have an opportunity, a legit opportunity to win a Super Bowl. So if that is indeed the case, I'm keeping D-Hop because he's helping me get to that goal. Right now, this team, if you go past the top 11, they have big problems.
It's going to hurt you this year.
Yeah,
This is what you have to weigh if you're Carthon.
Yeah,
It would
so
hurt you this year.
You can't look at it and say, well, we need to keep D-Hop. That's why you went and got Calvin Ridley. That's why you went and got Tyler Boyd. Is so you can have that guy if D-Hop goes down or if he doesn't sign back next year, you got your receiver for the next 3-4 years, hopefully, with Calvin Ridley. So you're not too worried about potentially losing D-Hop. Now, you're just not going to give him away for pennies or anything like that. But this isn't a situation where you're in a position to win a Super Bowl and D-Hop is helping you. So, yeah, we're going to keep him. If that was the case, you keep him and you roll with them. But that is indeed not the case. Honestly, you would be doing a favor to D-Hop. If this team is not ready to win, you're sending him to a team that is ready to win a Super Bowl right now, that is a favorite to win the Super Bowl this year. So ultimately, you will help the player and help yourself down the line in return. At least that's how I look at it.
I wonder if this is the same Brad that just called us. It might be. And so if so, Brad was a lot nicer on the phone than he was in the text. He says, Willie is smoking something good.
That's not being mean,
Titans
man.
have proven they can't draft. So
not
why would
being
they want to
mean.
do that? Hopkins has good years left in the tank. So I think that was the same
Willie,
Brad.
let me offer you something before we end up going to the next segment. But the Steelers would like to offer you Pat Fryermuth instead of the second-round pick you want. I mean, the Titans do need a tight end. I mean, would you accept something like that?
No, I don't think so. That's not because that's just one veteran for another. Fryermuth is, I just that doesn't do it for me. I want the future athlete.
But your head coach Brian Count, he does a good job calling plays.
He does.
You
But
guys need a solid tight end.
I want to know what I've got in Chig. I want to know what I've got in Wiley. Those are two younger guys that I still think I'd like to take a look at.
But that's the thing, Willie. Look, your offense, you know what you got in Calvin Ridley. You know what you got in running backs and Tony Pollard and potentially Tajay Spears. You know what you got in Tyler Boyd. You know what you got in a majority of your offense. You add Pat Fryermuth into that. You know what you got in your tight end.
I'd rather just keep D. I'd rather keep D-Hop. I don't need that. It's sort of a wash, veteran for veteran. I think I'd rather just keep D-Hop in house.
Okay.
So what a second round pick is something I think would help.
So what if I say this to you? Because I got to give up Brandon. I'm giving up Brandon Ayuk. I need something back more, and I know I got the first round pick. And
you're getting D-Hop in a first.
We're still trying to haggle over another pick. I need Treylon Burks
instead of D-Hop.
No, I need both of them.
No,
I need both of them.
I can't give up both of them.
Give me that in a second round pick.
Okay, well, it's interesting you mentioned that. Wes in Clarksville says I trade D-Hop and Burks for a legit right tackle, but that's you're not going to get a legit
John. John, what are you smoking over there, man?
That's some good stuff. But no,
but I can't give up both. Right, I'm trying to help you out. I'm trying to alleviate your problem with Ayuk. I can't give up both.
He's been a bust the last 2 seasons.
But the reason I'm willing to part with D-Hop is to give Burks a chance to play.
No,
he's going to play.
I'm trying to convince you that you need to give him to me. Listen,
I'm not giving you both of them.
The kid, it just doesn't seem like it's going to work there in Tennessee.
Well, then I'll give you Burks. I'll keep D-Hop. Is that?
No, I need both.
I can't give you both. I can't give you both of them.
I need both.
I can't.
John, you got a pretty deep wide receiver core there. Ricky Pearsall, Deebo Samuel, and now you want to add D-Hop and
you would have to then give me the first round pick. I want the first round pick from the Steelers then.
That's not helping.
But that's honestly a
conditional. How about a conditional pick?
Okay. Well, we'll see. We can still work through this. I want to know the essential thing from Titans fans is, would you be willing to consider this? Get in on this if it's a win for the Titans. What would be a win if you help facilitate Ayuk to the Steelers and you give up D-Hop to the 49ers? Is that something that they should look at?
I'll just say this about the Steelers. 159 by today, if there's not a pink slip on my desk knowing what it is, we're out.
Joe says, is it smart to get rid of Levis's comfort blanket in D-Hop? That's what you would be giving up. That's the risk. But I got Ridley. I got Burks. I got Boyd.
NWI,
who they have said a lot of things up.
That's all he is.
It's not great, but I don't think you're going to win the Super Bowl with or without D-Hop. Exactly. That is what my thinking is, but you may not agree. Let's see what else we got. Kevin said, good thing you guys aren't real GMs. This sounds like hooked on phonics. Kevin. Good thing y'all aren't real GMs. This sounds like hooked on phonics.
That's why we play GM on the radio. That's why.
Just know this, Kevin. I'm hiring Tommy as my secretary.
Exactly. But no, I need that. I need that first. As we go to break, I need that first round pick. I do need D-Hop, but I'm going to need another. There needs to be another pick or player. because
Okay.
again, I need to win now.
Right. You're winning. You get D-Hop and a first.
I understand.
You want to give
that.
me the first for Burks as a result of that, or we swap. I give you Burks and so I end up with two second round picks. I don't know about that.
Why don't we swap first rounds?
Okay, keep talking. Well,
Give me D-Hop. We swap first round picks.
We'll keep working on this. I got a lot of people on our text line that are weighing in. 49ers GM, that would be DMase, is crazy as hell. Wanted a first, a second, and D-Hop. 49ers would be submitted in the Hall of Fame if that happened. 49ers GM would be submitted.
I am sitting.
You can't fleece us here. I'm trying to
but
help
I'm
you.
I'm sitting in the driver's seat.
I'm
trying to work with y'all.
But I keep calling back, and so does Nick, saying, enjoy the Brandon Ayuk headache.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody wants to trade him. He doesn't want to play for the Patriots. Nobody else is offering you anything. If you want to keep him, then keep him.
We'll just sign it. He just have to play on his
He'll
the
have to
last
play.
year of his deal. That's all.
But I'll give you the little story about what was the guy's name. Who was the guy the Steelers should know? He sat out
Le'Veon Bell.
Le'Veon Bell. Let me tell you a little story about Le'Veon Bell.
Hey, get off my Spartan, my Spartan brother. All right, my Spartan dogs. Y'all need to stop. Y'all need to stop. Okay.
Next texter says, I make this trade at the deadline if the Titans aren't contenders. I do think if you could get a second round pick, that's at the deadline. I don't know if you can get that much. That's why I think it's intriguing now.
You have to do it now
to get a second round.
Because Brandon Ayuk is not going to be around, come the trade deadline. Either they're going to trade him before then, or they're going to sign him to a long contract. He won't just be sitting out. At least I don't believe he won't just be sitting out there come trade deadline on that last deal. I think they're either going to trade him now or get a deal done before the start of the season.
All right. So we're going to close the book on this. We'll segue into Ask DMase. But if you want to continue with feedback on this trade and hit DMase with it, feel free. This is my proposal once again if you joined us late. 3-way deal. 49ers get DeAndre Hopkins and a first-round pick from the Steelers. The Steelers get their target, Brandon Ayuk, from the 49ers. And the Titans would get the Steelers' second-round pick in 2026 if you couldn't get it for 2025. I didn't say 2020, but Nick says he wants to hold that pick until 2026.
Yeah, I just feel like we have some.
I want a condition that maybe makes that a potential first-round pick if Ayuk just lights it up. But that's my proposal: is a 3-way deal to facilitate the Ayuk trade to the Steelers. You give up D-Hop if you're Rand Carthon, but you get a second-round pick in return. Would you do it? 615-737-1025. That or questions about football or life or any of the above for DMase when we come back on our Ask DMase segment here on 102.5 The Game. All right, let's tell you about F&M Bank. Later today, we're going to take it to the bank once again for the weekend, make some fun predictions for what's going to happen maybe in the preseason opener. That should be fun to listen at 1:45. It's all about F&M Bank. Banking made easy on purpose. Here is one simple tool that they have. It's so simple, it's brilliant. Just to make your habits a lot easier to save money. It's called the Smart Swipe debit card. The Smart Swipe card, every time you use it, they round up to the nearest dollar. So you buy your lunch, let's say it's $12.10, they'll round it up to $13. That 90 cents goes into your savings. So every time you use that card, you are saving money without even thinking about it. And over time, that savings account, little by little, is going to build up. Smart Swipe. Very simple concept, but very effective. One of many tools how F&M Bank makes your banking easy on purpose. Here is how you get a hold of them. Find their nearest location, myfmbank.com. That's myfmbank.com. They've got 20 locations in our listening area. There is one near you. myfmbank.com. We take it to the bank at 1:45. Member FDIC, equal housing lender.
DMase.
He played 15 years in the NFL. He had over 12,000 receiving yards. And now you can ask him anything. Have a question about football or life? Now's your time to ask DMase. We'll welcome you in. Now on Willy and
DMase.
on 102.5 and 106.3, The Game and the Game Nashville app.
All right, we have stirred up a hornet's nest by design with this three-way trade proposal. The Titans jump in on this Brandon Ayuk hold-in and situation asking for a trade from the 49ers. It has gone from, they're not going to trade Ayuk. He's too good. They need him. He can't go anywhere. Well, he's tried to make life miserable enough. They've given him a chance to look around. The Steelers are interested, but it doesn't look like the two teams can make a deal. The Steelers don't want to give up players to get Ayuk. I proposed a three-way deal, but this is Ask DMase. You can ask him anything if you want to weigh in on our proposal, which is 49ers get a first-round pick from the Steelers, and they get D-Hop from the Titans, DeAndre Hopkins. Steelers get their man in Ayuk. Titans get a second-round pick from the Steelers. Now, DMase wants an additional third. He wants an additional asset.
There's been a new proposal.
We're trying to take advantage of the Steelers.
After we've talked, myself and Kyle Shanahan, we want to come back to the table. We want the Steelers 2025 one first and your third. And we want D-Hop. So we're helping ourselves now and we're helping ourselves tomorrow. We want the first and the third because I think Ayuk is worth the first and the third. And I want D-Hop. Or, matter of fact, give me Traylon Burks.
I'm not giving you Traylon Burks and D-Hop.
No. I'm saying give me Traylon Burks. You can keep D-Hop. Give me Traylon Burks.
And what do I get in return?
That's something you facilitate with him over there.
No, this is a three-way deal.
Yes,
we got all feel good about this.
All of your transactions is coming from him, not me.
You get my 2026 second.
I got to give up Burks and I get a second?
Yeah. You give 2026 second.
I got to consider
Burks,
that.
Listen, you may want to take that.
I would take that. A second rounder for Burks at this point?
But I'm getting the first and the second in 26. I mean, 25. A first and a third in 25, along with Traylon Burks. You can keep D-Hop. Now you got D-Hop. You don't have to trade him away. That should, satisfy the Titan fans that say, you're taking away his security blanket. So that should satisfy Titan fans because I want Burks instead of D-Hop. Y'all willing to give Burks away for a bag of popcorn. So give him to me.
Okay, if I get a second for Burks, I got to do it. That's an offer I can't refuse.
What if I were to give you, I'm just throwing a wrench in things. I'm sorry I'm doing this, but I have to. What if I gave you 2 extra first-round picks in the future for Jeffrey Simmons? Just putting that out there.
We got to have another phone call.
It's a whole nother phone call for that one. We can set up a lunch for that.
How many first-round picks do you think you have over there at Pittsburgh? You only get 1 per year.
Well, you can go down the line.
Now, what do
I can't get a 2030. I'll be fired by 2030.
Willie, you want the second in 2025, right?
26 for me.
I'll look. I need future assets. I would love it to be 2025, but if it's 2026, then I want a condition that could make it a first.
A first. Well, that's something that
if I have to wait that long.
That can't happen. I don't want to be fleeced out here. It's basically a 2-way
So I
trade.
want a 2025 second is my proposal.
I can't.
All right, we got a ton of people in the Ask DMase. Let's see. Bill did the Steelers a favor. This is a Steeler fan. As a Steeler fan, I would take it, but no 2 picks in the same year. You decide who gets a first and 2 seconds in what years. So he wants to spread that out. But he's interested in the Ayuk, or if San Fran swaps a late rounder to the Titans.
What if I were to
offer? I'm actually optimistic that people don't think this is crazy. Like, usually if somebody does this, the first thought is like, "What are you, crazy? This is never going to happen." But I do think this is maybe a phone call that Rand Carthon could make to start just, brainstorming about this. Could you win? Could you come up with something and take advantage of a situation by being a third team and have it be a win? Giving up somebody like D-Hop or Burks would be tough, but to get maybe a better asset. Remember, we talked about over the summer, who would trade for Treylon Burks? Nobody. You couldn't get anything. So to turn him into a second-round pick, that's tempting for sure. I think I would rather give up D-Hop and keep an eye on Burks. But look, we've been fooled by Burks before. So if you strike while the iron is hot for a second-round pick, I don't think you could refuse that. Hey, DMase, Ron texts in. What top 5 optimistic goals for the Titans? What are the top 5 optimistic goals for the Titans this year? And who do you think could make the Pro Bowl, not named D-Hop or Jeffrey Simmons?
Top 5.
I don't know if you need to go 5, but I like the second part. Like, who could make the Pro Bowl outside of D-Hop or Simmons?
Obviously Snead. That should be he should be number 1 if you're taking away. I'm the only person that you're really like. I'm not sure D-Hop has a legitimate shot at making a Pro Bowl. He may, some guys may go down because of the pass catchers that they have now. It's going to be hard for him to have those numbers to make a Pro Bowl. Now, if guys sort of pull out of the Pro Bowl like they all do, then maybe he can slip in there as a second or third guy, more like a third guy. But I'm not sure. I don't know. I'm just, boy, that's tough. It's tough. So, but as far as, here. Beside Jeffrey Simmons, you look at Snead. I also think that those running backs, one of those running backs has a good opportunity to make the Pro Bowl. I don't know which one it is, but one of those running backs, Cushenberry, has an opportunity to be a Pro Bowler. J.C. Latham has an opportunity to be a Pro Bowler. And I know there are a lot of great left tackles in AFC, but a lot of these tackles or a lot of these players pull out of the Pro Bowl for injury reasons, or they just don't want to play. So you can get in by sort of default because you're the second or third guy in line. So I think they have at least 3 to 4 guys that can potentially make the Pro Bowl. But the Pro Bowl is not like it used to be. It's not. It's just a lot of difference. But as far as things I would like to see, I think number 1, and everybody knows it, is the offensive line, and then the quarterback, obviously, and then I want to see how this new, this revamped secondary, how does it hold up? So that's just 3 out of the 5.
Jordan in Nashville says, I would accept a conditional second-round pick that could turn into a first for the Titans. The second-round pick for the Titans is going to be basically a third because because he theorizes it'll be a lower pick. You never know, but the Steelers tend to at least be decent. They are a pretty good bet not to be bad. D-Hop is worth way more than that, even at 32. See, I think I would differ with that at this stage of his career. I think that would be a big return on D-Hop, a second-round pick. He also helps contribute to the success of the young quarterback. This is what you would really have to be parting with right now. A thought to do it, though, is you get guaranteed return on D-Hop since he's a free agent after this season as of now. So he says, I'd rather give up Burks to get a second and keep D-Hop. I would not. The 49ers would have to love Burks a lot more than I think they do to get in on that. But I know you still have hope for Burks.
I think Burks fit what they want to do better than D-Hop. Burks has more speed. He's a little bit quicker. They love to do the run after the catch. He would be big in their system, run after a catch. Big physical guy that can run. D-Hop doesn't quite fit their system the way they like to play it now.
The 49ers.
The 49ers.
That's interesting. John on the text line says the Niners don't want to get older at the wide receiver position.
So I don't think that's why I propose give me Burks. You keep D-Hop, however y'all facilitate that. Y'all keep D-Hop, give me Burks. In the first and third, but has I don't even, there's not even conditions. Just give me a first and a third in 2025.
See, that's interesting.
That's coming from him.
Could you maybe sell? If you wanted Burks, could you sell? Then maybe Nick comes back and says, I'm not giving up a second rounder for Burks, to get Ayuk. So maybe that second rounder is more of a third or fourth. Would you do it? Burks goes from the Titans to the 49ers, and you get a third or a fourth conditional kind of pick, a third round or more of a mid-round pick for Burks. That's an interesting call. Do you want to give up on Burks for that? But that's probably more than you think.
Yeah.
If it's,
I wouldn't.
I
I
mean,
would be all right with that.
Well, the Steelers probably don't care one way or the other. It's cost less for the Steelers. So
Right.
in that three-way trade, you're getting Ayuk, which is what you want, and you're giving up less than you would for D-Hop. So that lowered your price.
and you still got to pay him.
I don't care. I'll take you out to lunch with it. That's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah. Well, this is all
Uh-huh.
contingent upon the Steelers maybe behind the scenes have agreed
In
they
principle,
they
to a
would pay
contract, yeah.
Ayuk what he wants that the 49ers will not pay. Lenny says Trent Williams for D-Hop
Oh, wow.
and our second round pick.
I'll be like, okay, give him here.
But Lenny also says trade that man. He's old. He's got a bad knee. Traylon is ready. A second round pick could help the O-line.
I
do think you
I
have
don't
to
a
think
team
beyond
is
this
giving
year
up
if you're the
Traylon.
Titans.
I don't think a team is giving up that much for Traylon. Third, fourth, possible third, because we can even say a first and a fourth with conditions that it turns into a third, depending on how Traylon does when he comes over to San Fran.
Anthony says, give them Burks and a third. We'll take Pickens. See, Pickens is not on the
Yeah,
block.
Pickens.
This is
off
why
the
we're
block,
in this
yeah.
situation. Is because Pickens, they don't want to give up.
Mhm.
They want to keep Pickens and have Ayuk added to that.
If it was just if Pickens was in the mix, it'd be easier to facilitate this trade. I don't think they would need a third team if Pickens was a part of this trade, because they don't want to give up Ayuk and get nothing back but draft picks.
If the Steelers were willing to give up Pickens, then it would be a lot easier to talk about an Ayuk for Pickens swap.
Yeah, that'd
right?
just be a 1-for-1 almost.
Yeah, but obviously that's why we're here. Is they are at an impasse that would have already been done. That's why my theory is if they're looking for a third team, the Titans should jump into the ring and see what they could get if they offered up DeAndre Hopkins in this mix, looking at the long term.
Mm-hmm.
And you would be saying, I'm taking the security blanket away from my young quarterback. Do I have enough with what you've seen so far of Ridley and Boyd and Burks and the other guys that you have? NWI, the old reliable.
Those old
Phillips,
pair of jeans.
Mason, Kinsey, all these little guys that they've got. Could you get by? So that's the question here. All right, we'll take a break. Come back with more of Ask DMase. We've got callers lined up on the line to talk about this. Stay tuned. You're listening to 102.5 The Game.
Happy Friday, everyone. This is Derek Mason, and you heard me tell you about Dr. Lodge and his staff at Cool Springs MD for some time now. If you have set out to lose weight, chances are it's not your first time setting a resolution to shed some extra pounds only to come up short. But at Cool Springs MD, Dr. Lodge and his team, he has a wonderful team, people, understands the frustration of this cycle, and that is why they offer a different approach to weight loss. Their comprehensive weight loss program is led by Dr. Jeffrey Lodge and addresses the root cause of weight gain with tailored nutrition, exercise, blood test supplements, and more. They will customize a program specific to you and no one else. So connect with Dr. Lodge at CoolSpringsMD.com today to schedule your appointment for a personalized weight loss plan just for you. We're going to get rid of those pounds at Cool Springs MD. So that's Cool Springs MD, where your weight loss journey becomes a success story.
Second round of Ask DMase. We have lit a fire with this three-way trade proposition. Would you give up D-Hop to facilitate an Ayuk trade, and what would you need to get in return? Let's go to the phones, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Let's get to Steven on line one. Steven, welcome to the show. Welcome into Ask DMase.
Hey, fellas. I cannot state this loud and clearly enough. You can't do this trade.
If you're who?
Whether it's fictitious, whether it's real, it doesn't matter. The number one priority this season is to determine whether or not Will Levis is the guy.
Okay.
D-Hop is a part of deciding that. You can't take him away and just hope everything else works out. That's the number one most important thing. And if we were to make a trade like this, similar to this season plays out, you're a twisted ankle away from relying on Ickine, Burks. You can't count on Burks, been in the league for 2 years. You can't count on what has not shown to be a reliable resource at this point. You have to ensure you give Levis every opportunity to develop into the guy, or you go into the offseason looking for a new guy.
Okay, so
You
a
can't diminish
second
that.
round pick is not enough of an asset for you. That doesn't tantalize you.
No, not at all. Not at all. I've got to make sure Levis is the guy. We cannot do like we did with Marcus, where we went into every offseason. Well, Marcus didn't do well, but here's an excuse why. And we drug that out for 5 years.
So you really think
do the
that the
same thing
only
with
way
Levis.
you're going to evaluate Levis is if they have D-Hop this year?
No, you have your first three wide receivers are 29, 30, and 32.
Exactly. So
you
Levis,
get rid of the 32-year-old.
Levis, at some point you got to take the water wings off. Yeah.
Yeah, take train wheels off. That's why you went and got and I understand what you're saying. Don't get me wrong.
Stephen, we'll let you go on
Steve,
that, but
I understand
good
what
strong
Steve is-
take.
yeah,
A lot of
thank
people
you.
are going to feel that way.
I understand what Steve is saying, but in this, that's why they went out and got Calvin Ridley. That's why they went out and got Tyler Boyd, because they're trying to make sure they don't. Last year, because D-Hop was the only guy, that offense was they sputtered a lot. Okay, and we saw even with D-Hop, we saw the quarterback have his ups and his downs. The one thing you do need to find out whether this quarterback is the guy or not, it ain't D-Hop. It's not D-Hop. As good as D-Hop has been his career, and he's sort of on the tail end now, but he's still a good player. You need that offensive line needs to get. That's how you're going to find out whether you got a quarterback or not. Is if that offensive line can hold up, because you went and got your pass catchers. You got the pass catchers. Tyler Boyd's a damn good pass catcher. He's lost his speed. He's not the receiver he was, 3, 4, 5 years ago, but he's still a good receiver. You got Calvin Ridley, who he's reaching that apex of his game, and he's your number one guy. Then you have these other guys in the mix that Will has built a rapport with. So if you take D-Hop out of the equation, you're not hampering the quarterback. Prime example, Joe Flacco. I was Joe Flacco's security blanket for 4 years. Okay, that last year of that contract, it was a 6-year contract. Ultimately, it ended up being a 6-year contract. But the last year of that contract, after I finished, they said, you know what? We need to get younger. They chose to get younger. They went out and drafted Torrey Smith in the second round out of Maryland, a speedster. They went and got Jacoby. Why am I forgetting Jacoby's last name?
Jacoby Jones?
Yeah, Jacoby Jones from the Houston Texans. They went out and got another receiver. So what they did was, by subtracting me, they went and got younger, but they still had the guy in Anquan Bolden, who was their number one guy.
So Ridley is basically Anquan Bolden.
Ridley is a faster version of Anquan Bolden. You don't need. It's nice to have D-Hop there, but you don't necessarily need D-Hop in order to find out whether your quarterback is the guy or not. You need a better offensive line so he can have time to throw.
Okay. Text line.
But I understand what you're saying when you propose that.
Text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Stilly, Jared Stillman, is going to torch you guys for proposing this.
Oh, I threw it to Stilly already.
Okay.
I threw it to Stilly.
I've gotten a text from Jared. He's on the fence. He's listening. He said the second round pick could be Derrick Henry, could be Devondre Sweat. So that's why when Steven calls in, he goes, you can't do this. You have to think about the second round pick is value for a guy that is not going to be there when the new stadium opens. You hope that Will Levis is going to be there.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So I know you're trying to get Will Levis off the ground. Do you have enough if you could get a second round pick? I think that's the intrigue of this three-way proposal. If the 49ers and Steelers are in on this, if this is what greases the wheels to get the Steelers, Ayuk, and the 49ers compensation that they can be feeling good about and lose Ayuk. All right, let's get to Gary on line 3. Gary, welcome to the show. You're on 102.5 The Game.
Thank you. Yeah, you guys got to get this trade done being a Steeler fan, so let's go. But anyway.
So you're a Steeler fan and you want Ayuk.
Oh, Ayuk and Pickens, we'd win the North, hands down.
Okay. And so you'd be okay giving up a first and a second?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
We gave up a first for Fitzpatrick, and everyone thought that was stupid, and look what he did.
Okay.
But anyway,
right. Minkah Fitzpatrick. We're not talking about Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Yeah, we're talking
Minkah
about
Fitzpatrick.
Yes.
Right.
Got to clarify this, right? Wait a minute. The Steelers traded for Fitzmagic? What? He's still playing?
I've been wanting to ask DMase about another spectacular receiver for a long time and want to know if you think he should be in the Hall of Fame. He's an old Steeler named Hines Ward. To me, was the heart and soul. He could take people's heads off blocking. I think they changed roles, 2 Super Bowls, 12,000 yards. What was it like playing against him, and what are your thoughts on him?
Thank you for the call, too. I always enjoyed watching Hines play. Hines he wasn't your prototypical receiver. He was Deebo Samuel before Deebo Samuel even came in the league. Hines did everything. He threw the football. He ran reverses. He caught screen passes. He was that guy that Deebo Samuel is now for the 49ers. I think he should be in the Hall of Fame. He has 1 or 2 Super Bowls to his name. He has some Pro Bowls. I think he may have had a few All Pros. And you're right. He was the heart and soul of that Pittsburgh offense. And, another reason, he's a Pittsburgh Steeler. So eventually he will get in. All Pittsburgh Steelers, if there were a borderline great players or great players, they all get into the Hall of Fame, no matter what. Pittsburgh Steelers. The Hall of Fame was made for Pittsburgh Steelers.
There's plenty of them in there. That's for sure. Lenny adds that if it'll help, he'll throw in Malik Willis to the 49ers to make it work. Done.
Oh, my goodness. I think we're going to pull out now. I think we're going to back up off the table now.
Signed, sealed,
we're backing
so
up.
Which one of you guys wants Malik Willis? Steelers or 49ers? Can we make this? Does that help?
Nah, I'm backing up off the table.
All right. We've had a lot of fun with this. We're going to turn the page. We might stick with this. A lot of people are intrigued about this. Randy's got a proposal here. I have to ingest this for a moment here while the break goes on before we get to this, because we got to get the clock back intact here. Eric's on the line too with his weekly dad joke. So we might have an extension of Ask DMase here. 615-737-1025. Are you in on a 3-way deal that the Titans could jump in on to help the 49ers and Steelers complete the deal for Brandon Ayuk? D-Hop goes to the 49ers. The Titans would get a second-round pick from the Steelers. Ayuk goes to the Steelers, and the Niners get D-Hop and a Steelers first-round pick. What do you think? 615-737-1025. We're back after this with hour number 3 of Willy and DMase.
Back at you, 1025. Derek and Willie, or DMase and Willie, or Willie and DMase, whatever you want to say. Discussing the Titans and a potential trade. We have a lot, and I mean a lot of texts pertaining to this topic. People are getting involved. People involved. People even suggest different trades. We have one. Who is this?
This
Willie?
is Randy.
This is Randy. Randy wants to offer up the Titans give the 49ers D-Hop, Mason Rudolph, and next year's second for Brandon Ayuk. The Titans then turn around and trade Brandon Ayuk to Pittsburgh for a first and a sixth next year, plus Justin Fields. I was like, nah, because I'm thinking they need to back a quarterback. But then when I saw Justin Fields, do you want to, and I'm not saying this is a bad proposal. I'm not saying that at all, but it'll be kind of tricky because once I get Ayuk, unless we've already negotiated that I'm getting Ayuk and sending him away, he's not even coming to Nashville. I'm just taking it and
right. It's a three-way trade.
Yeah. So unless we have like the parameters as far as the trade, they're going to sign him. Pittsburgh will sign him. This may be an option that you can take. Now, what it will do, I tell you this, and you said it, it may just cause a quarterback controversy, even though Will is the guy and they want him to be the guy. Well, he's not the guy. When I say he's the guy, he's the starter, but they want him to be the guy, meaning they want him to be the guy they end up paying 40, 50, $60 million to. But when you bring in a Justin Fields, it does muddy up the waters a little bit.
I don't know if that's too complicated. That is a really intriguing three-way trade. For people that are just joining us, let's reset and tell people how we got here. This is all a think tank, because right now, one of the biggest, I would have to say, the biggest story, you listen to any national podcast or you go to NFL Network, the number one story right now is what's going to happen with Brandon Ayuk and the 49ers. 49ers come into Nashville to play the Titans tomorrow. Brandon Ayuk still wants to be traded. In a perfect world, the 49ers just want Brandon Ayuk to play on his current contract, which is the last year of his deal, at a reasonable price, and just deal with it later. They would be willing to pay him more, but not as much as Ayuk wants. He wants to be paid big, so he's asked for a trade. They've explored this, and apparently the Steelers this week are the ones that are showing the most interest. The problem is the 49ers want to win now, so they can't just take draft picks and future assets. They want something in return. So here's Michael Lombardi on the GM Shuffle with his thought of how they got here and what would need to happen to make this deal work.
Trade compensation between the Niners and whichever team, if they go down that road and ultimately deal Ayuk before the regular season starts. Is it possible that the Niners have deals in place? Because that's what people were kind of reporting and making it seem like, oh, the Niners have all these deals in place. They're just waiting for Ayuk to pick which team he wants to go to and which team he wants to sign with. What's actually happening? Like, is there an agreement with the Niners and the Steelers already, and the Steelers are just negotiating with Ayuk, and that's what's holding this whole thing up?
Well, there's two things that have to take place, right? I mean, there's two things that have to happen. You know, they have to get Ayuk under contract. Okay, that's the number one thing. And then they've got to satisfy the 49ers in the trade. Because let's be clear here. Everybody thinks Ayuk has all the leverage. He has some leverage. He has the leverage in determining what team he goes to. He doesn't have the leverage in making the 49ers say yes. So, you know, he doesn't want to go to New England. He did them a huge favor, right? He doesn't want to go there. So he says, okay, I'm not interested in that. No problem. You don't want to go there. You don't want to pay. You know, they're offering you whatever it is. I want to go to Pittsburgh. Okay, great. Well, Pittsburgh's not giving us a receiver back that we want. So that doesn't. So we'll say no. We'll just keep saying no. We're going to say no until we satisfy our trade demands. Why would we say yes? So they do have it. Look, they know they're not going to have the player. So at this point, what do we care? We don't have the player. Like, I'll just keep saying no until I get the deal I want. I mean, the Steelers sending a first-round pick does them no good. It does them no good. This is kind of like you almost need this is almost like in the NBA where you need a third party to come in because some team has the assets to be able to trade that the Steelers don't. The Steelers' first-round pick could be somewhere between 18 and 32.
So there you go. A first-round pick does them no good in terms of winning the Super Bowl this year.
Yeah.
So you almost need a third team to come in. That's where my light bulb went off, and I said that third team could be the Titans. So we've complicated things because now people are wondering about these backup quarterback swaps as part of it. My initial proposal was that the Titans could jump in and satisfy both the 49ers and the Steelers and get something from themselves, where the 49ers would end up with a first-round pick from the Steelers and DeAndre Hopkins. The Steelers would get their man in Ayuk, and the Titans would get a second-round pick from the Steelers. That is my proposed three-team trade. And essentially the story here would be, is D-Hop worth trading for a second-round pick at this stage of his career, and what would that do to Will Levis? Now, we've had a ton of people that have given counter moves, counter proposals. DMase doesn't think that the 49ers would be satisfied getting D-Hop and a first-round pick. He wants more. Nick, who represented the Steelers when we did this, he's okay with giving up some draft picks. He wants Ayuk, but he's a little reticent of how many picks he's going to give up in return. We had a Steeler fan call up, and he said absolutely they would give up a first and a second to get Ayuk, to put Ayuk with Pickens and their quarterback situation. So we got a ton of people on the line that want to weigh in on this. 615-737-1025. That is the question, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. So let's get to Paul on line one. Paul, welcome to the show.
Good afternoon.
Hey, Paul.
Hey, my question is, say we do the trade and we get Justin Fields.
Who's we?
Pittsburgh, when they picked him up.
Who's we?
How about the Titans?
Okay. So you're giving Randy's proposal that you would swap backup quarterbacks in this, that Rudolph would end up with the 49ers and the Titans would end up with Fields.
But didn't Pittsburgh decline his fifth-year option? So we'd be just picking him up for one season.
Yeah, I think it would be very complicated to have Fields. I don't know if the Steelers would do that because they have Russell Wilson. Don't you think they're trying to figure out which one they want to keep?
Exactly.
So I don't think that would fly.
It wouldn't. I just thought, how would that part of the trade work, knowing that you're going to lose him at the end of the season unless you could re-sign him?
I agree. Yeah. So I think that would be too complicated. I think
it will muddy the waters too much.
Yeah. Texter, who does not have a name, so we'll give him one today. It's a Motown person. So
Eddie Kendricks.
There we go.
Eddie Kendricks says, not just no, hell no to my deal. There are some people that really staunchly want to keep D-Hop. My son was one of them. I proposed it to my son this morning. I said, what do you think of this? He says, no, I want D-Hop.
Again, I get it. That's why my thing was, okay, if you really want D-Hop, because I don't think as a Niner guy, as the Niners GM, whether it's D-Hop or Treylon Burks, I think we're still, either guy. But I think Treylon fits what I want to do better. And he's younger. So if he hits, now I get him for a longer period of time. And I get him at a reduced cost because now I sign him. I don't have to sign him to big money. I really don't. So that's why I said for me, which would be the Niners, I will give Brandon Ayuk up to the Steelers, but then I got to get a first and another pick, and I got to get Treylon Burks from you. So you're just giving me Treylon Burks. You're getting everything else from the Steelers, and I'm getting the Steelers first and fourth that has a potential to be a third. So
okay. Let's get to Eric, who is on the line. He's been waiting patiently here. Eric, welcome to the show.
Hey, guys, here's my dad joke, and I hope you guys like it.
A weekly dad joke from Eric.
Yeah. So, DMase, have you heard of the airplane joke?
The airplane joke. Ah, man, gosh. I'm trying to figure out what it is. No, I haven't heard it.
Well, it's just as well. I don't think you would understand it. It would fly right over your head.
Okay. That's a all right one. Out of 10, I give you about a 5. I give you a 5. You've been better, Eric. You've been better.
Yeah, I know. They're real corny and bad, but it's just, hey, some of them I've heard, some of them I've made up on my own. But anyway, as far as the Brandy Ayuk deal, guys, I'm going to take a position that's probably not popular. If I'm him, there's no way in the world I would want to leave the 49ers. And here's why. In fact, if I'm on the teams, I wouldn't make it the trade for him. And here's why. Has he really proven that he stepped up and been the number one receiver worth the money? Because here's the thing. When he was with the 49ers, of course, was playing with Deebo Samuel, Christian McCaffrey, and George Kittle. He was playing in that type of offense. It's one thing to go from a team where you were surrounded by all those weapons and then go to another team and be the primary receiver. And also, if I'm him, I'd stay there for another year because you're going to be a free agent. And the rumor is, of course, at first he wanted to go to Washington and play with Jaden Daniels. And the thing is, Washington wasn't going to give up the capital. But if you're a free agent, you could command big bucks. Washington, I think, would probably pay the money for him, or other teams would. So he would be in a better position to stay with the 49ers. Because I also heard a report that he didn't want to go to Cleveland. I think it was because the whole uncertainty with Deshaun Watson. So that's what I would do. I would just stay right where I'm at. Then be afraid next year where you would command huge money and get into a bidding war. Yeah, I think that's the better thing. If he
and they could tag him.
Yeah, that's the only problem.
That's the thing. Eric, thanks for the call.
That is the only problem, is that they can tag him. He doesn't want to be tagged next year. That's why he really wants out of San Fran. One, they're not. It doesn't seem like they want to pay him the money that he wants. But if they keep him, they can just tag him next year. And then now he's playing under 1 year, 1 year contract. You just hope that they get something done.
I'm kind of from afar with Eric. I want to play for a Super Bowl. Yeah. I would let things work themselves out because this will work out. I think it's good advice to just play your game, have another really good year, and your value is going to go up. He wants to make it happen now. And if this could happen, if the Steelers are willing to pay the money, he likes the idea of going to the Steelers, then maybe it will happen. But so that's why we're here. That's why I'm proposing this deal, because it doesn't look like Ayuk and the 49ers have the kind of relationship right now that can be put back together. It seems like it's fractured right now, at least from afar. That's what everybody's saying.
I mean, listen, he's going to play. I don't think he's going to sit out because he doesn't want to lose some money, especially if the 49ers are just dug in. And
they haven't done that yet, but they could.
Exactly. Like, listen, we're not going to trade him unless we get this. So if you don't give us this, he's going to be on our team and he's going to play under the contract that he's on. So if I'm him, I go to camp, I'll be there. I try to facilitate a trade, but then also, depending on the space that, the Niners and Ayuk's representatives are in, I don't know how feasible this would be, but I would say, okay, all right, you don't want to give me the contract this year, then let's write up an addendum. You cannot franchise tag me next year. You cannot. I'll play this year under the contract, but you can't franchise tag me next year.
I wonder if they've had that discussion.
I'm sure they probably you had to have had that conversation because the
49ers wouldn't have to say yes, but it would be a way to alleviate the headache for this year. But then you risk him walking for nothing. Like, you want to get something in return, right? Then you're letting him walk right into
but you may not
unrestricted free agency.
You may not get what you want because he's not the reason they have not facilitated a trade is because Ayuk and his representatives they basically said, I'm not signing with you. If y'all do the trade, I'm not signing a contract with you. I'm not signing an extension with you. And I don't think they could franchise tag him. So that's why teams are like, oh, okay, let us kind of think about this because he does hold some cards here. Yeah, we'll get him for a year, but he's not redoing a contract with us.
That's part of the equation for sure. Scott in Shelbyville on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. No on the trade. Number one, I wouldn't want to help the Steelers for any reason. Second, that pick is too low. That would be a middle of the road to low second-round pick. You lose D-Hop, you, quote, might get help 2 years from now from that pick. Remember, Derrick Henry was a second-round pick. This year's second-round pick looks pretty good, even though he's a higher second-round pick, T'Vondre Sweat. He says,
But I don't want
But he says,
D-Hop
hey,
now.
look, see Caleb Farley. Rand hasn't improved himself yet. This is a thing with Titans fans, is they're reticent to take the picks because the Titans have not picked very well.
This
I
is
get
a
that.
different regime.
But I just say what choice do you have? If they're ultimately going to be good, they have to pick well anyway.
Yeah.
You have to forget about what the past is.
Yeah, you can't paralyze yourself because of past picks that frankly you didn't make as a GM. The jury's still out on Skoronski because that was your first pick as GM, Skoronski and the guys in that draft class, Wiley and Spears. And it seems like they're starting off on a good note. So let's just look at Rand and what he has done. You can't look at what John did, even though John did some great things as well. But you can't go back that far and say, well, the Titans don't know how to pick. Well, this is a whole new regime. They're doing things a totally different way. And I'm not saying that they're right, but at least give them an opportunity to show, hey, listen, we drafted Spears last year. We drafted Skoronski. We drafted Wiley, some other guys. This year, we got J.C. Latham. We got Sweat. We got some other guys. Let's see how these guys perform. It seems like on initial look, it seems like these guys are going to be players for us. So if that is indeed the case, we can't keep litigating, what happened 3-4 years ago with the GM that's no longer here. A GM, by the way, that won 60% of his games and led a team that was basically, they were in purgatory. He led a team. He put together a team that was in the AFC Championship. So he did something good.
Yeah, he did some good things, but they're paying the price for those drafts that went dry. Last text for you, DMase, before you have to leave.
Mm-hmm.
On the text line, we have a lot of other people that want to get their 2 cents in on this proposal. Why? This is a texter. He doesn't have a name, so
okay,
we'll
I'm
say
going to give him Smokey Robinson.
Smokey Robinson.
There we go.
I love it. Where are the miracles? Why would the 49ers want an injured D-Hop? Well, remember, in my proposed trade, they're not just getting D-Hop. They're getting a first-round pick as well. And it is a fair question, right? Is that enough? But I'm going on the premise that for this deal to work, the 49ers have come to a conclusion that they cannot make it work with Ayuk, and they have to explore other possibilities. Will any other team get them a better wide receiver for this year than D-Hop? And then you have the first-round pick elsewhere as compensation. But do you feel like if you're the 49ers that D-Hop could help you? You're concerned about the way they run their offense. Does he fit their offense?
I don't think he fits their. I'm just.
You'd be worried about that.
Fit their offense for what they like to do. Their offense is a moving offense. These guys catch the ball and they're going. Yards after catch is big with this offense. D-Hop doesn't get you much yards after the catch. And maybe it could be because of the way they ran their offense last year. Now, he may get more yak yards this year. You never know. But if I'm just looking at it, from a surface level, based on what he did last year in that offense, he was good, meaning D-Hop, but he didn't get you much after the catch. A lot of what San Fran do is predicated on catching the ball short and getting yards after that. Traylon fits what they would want to do more as far as their scheme and how they use players than say a D-Hop does.
DMase, have a great weekend.
Yes.
Make sure you get your ticket to the bank. To Nick.
I think
under the wire.
I take it to the bank. I think the gold medals. I think I may have won that one. I think the U.S. caught China.
Yeah, they're ahead
at
right
one
now.
point.
It's not over yet
during the weekend. No, I said during the weekend they were catching. And I think they caught them.
We'll have to see if Nick kept score
I did.
accurately. Okay,
he's on it.
Yeah, see, I was watching, Willie. I was watching.
Okay, good.
See, you get all this in that quad screen that we have.
Yes, Willie, you get it in the quad screen.
I'm only on the single screen.
The gold zone.
The gold zone. All right, when we come back, we will continue this discussion. Not a rumor. This is not a report. This is all a theory, a hypothetical. Would this be a smart move for the Titans at Rand Carthon to jump in on this impasse where you have the Steelers wanting Ayuk? Ayuk doesn't want to play for the 49ers, but you would need a third team to step in to make it happen. Could you get a win if you're the Titans in the long term if you traded D-Hop and got a second-round pick in return as a net result? Stay tuned. We'll continue to hash it out when we come back here on 102.5 The Game. Okay, a little Motown as we come down the home stretch of Willy and DMase here on 102.5 The Game. We're broadcasting from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville Studios, home with a $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. So, we're still hashing out the proposed trade by me. I stirred up a hornet's nest here with this, trying to jump in. The theory is maybe you could use a third team to jump in and make a deal happen on a deal that would send Brandon Ayuk where he wants. He wants out of the 49ers camp. He wants to go to the Steelers, but the 49ers hold the cards because Ayuk can't go anywhere. They would, in a perfect world, like him to play under his current contract, but he's in a hold-in. They don't want to play for the future. They want to play for now. So they need compensation that would give them something to replace him this year. Enter the Titans. You could trade DeAndre Hopkins to the 49ers. The 49ers would also get a first-round pick from the Steelers in this three-way trade proposed by me. And the Titans, in exchange for giving up Hopkins to the 49ers, would get a second-round pick in return from the Steelers. What do you think of the trade? 615-737-1025. Our phone and text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, is the place you go. call or text. So, Nick, we've laid it out. This topic has had legs.
It's had more than legs, Willie.
And I'm glad that just people don't think I'm completely nuts for throwing this out there.
No, it's logical. I mean, the thing is with the Titans, like you add DeAndre Hopkins in the equation of a trade, like it's good for, like DMase was saying earlier, for a team that's competing for some sort of Super Bowl run, which I think that's over with for San Francisco, but that's just me. And it's a good transitional piece for Will Levis because now that he's last season had DeAndre Hopkins as his, I guess, safety blanket, I think it's okay to say that Calvin Ridley is that new safety blanket. Would you agree to that?
Well, I think that's what you would have to be. That's what you would have to assess and risk, that you could trade away the security blanket and you would have enough that Will Levis could survive, and it would be worth in the long run more to the team to have a second-round pick. And you would hope, like you said, that now that you've got Ridley, maybe Burks still has something to give with an opportunity that would open up if you traded D-Hop, and you would still have Boyd, Nick Westbrook-Akine, Kyle Phillips, and the other guys. It would be a risk in the short term, but would you be better off in the long term? Let's see what we've got on the text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. What about Burks instead? Okay, that came up during the show earlier. I don't know that the 49ers would be interested in Burks. If I'm them, that's the key, is would you like Burks enough that he could compensate what Brandon Ayuk does? Now, DMase says that Burks maybe has the physical tools that would fit more in that offense. And maybe in exchange for that, the Titans wouldn't get a second-round pick. We feel like DeAndre Hopkins is more of the known quantity. Maybe it's more of a fourth-round pick for Burks. I think that would be tempting if that's what it took. But I think what's interesting is if you're Ran Carthon, would this potentially be something to do? You know the 49ers people really well. That's where you came from. They're here in town this weekend. You don't have a third-round pick next year because of L'Jarius Sneed. You're probably not going to win this year. So is this worth trying to jump in the game and figure out, could you help your team long-term? I think long-term is the key. That's why I'm maybe a little more willing to give up Hopkins than I am Burks, but we know Burks right now, he looks good. There's potential, but this is where they've been before. Burks was not a Ran Carthon draft pick. So either way, I think it's worth kind of exploring here. Let's see what else we've got here. We've got a caller. Let's go to John on the phone line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Hey, John.
Hey, what's going on, my man? Thanks for taking the call. Love the show. Long-time listener. I'll just hop right in. I think for what we are looking to define our season, which is to figure out what Levis is, putting the tools around him, I think D-Hop has to be a part of that equation. I know he's out the first 4 to 6 weeks, but, all things presuming, if he comes back and we really see that, okay, Levis can make the throws, if he has multiple targets, and I think if you trade him away and now you leave, Tyler Boyd, Calvin Ridley, and now we have to move up Burks, which, we don't necessarily want to do that at this point. So I think that wouldn't benefit the Titans to hop in that trade, and I'll hang up and listen.
Okay, John. And so I think this is the pushback I'm getting is even if I dangle a second-round pick, and that's why I throw out a second. We have another texter named Robert that's saying, hey, the Bears got Keenan Allen for a fourth, and you would think D-Hop would get a second. I think you're definitely nuts. To me, the reason is you've got a situation that has come to a head. And I think that's where you try to get more than what I think DeAndre Hopkins is probably worth at this point. That's why I think a second is intriguing. A fourth, I think that's probably more in the range of what he's actually worth, Nick. Do you agree? But because just to get the deal done, would the Steelers throw it in just to say, this is what it's going to take right now to get Ayuk? That's why I'm trying to say strike while the iron is hot. And I throw a second out there because I know that's probably more than what he's really worth. A fourth, I don't know if that outweighs what a lot of people are saying is, look, this team this year needs Hopkins to be able to survive. A fourth isn't worth giving up. A second, though, I'd have to go for that.
Obviously, this is not in the cards of this trade, but like I offered it earlier about Roman Wilson. What if I offered,
Instead of a draft pick,
yeah, but
Roman Wilson, the 3rd round pick last year.
What if I also offered Roman Wilson in a 4th?
It depends. I would have to ask my scouts, what do you think of Wilson? But and I don't know enough about him to know if he would fit.
Former college football national
it's
champion,
intriguing.
Michigan.
It's intriguing. Yeah,
My
a
people up in
player
Pittsburgh,
and a 4th. I don't know if Pittsburgh would go for that, but that's what's been fun about this. We've got a million counter proposals on this. Let's see what else we've got here. Texter text, and he's got no name, so let's assign a Motown hero.
Stevie Wonder.
Stevie Wonder. I would trade Ayuk to Pittsburgh for a right tackle that would he said mispronounced something about Jared's reaction on this. Well, we know that this is only a deal. This is only a possibility because it does look like there are actual engagements between the 49ers and the Steelers. So we can talk about all these other type of deals. Those aren't close enough to reality. This is still hypothetical, but this is a real deal coming on. And I do think it makes sense that the 49ers and the Steelers would be looking at a 3rd team to help them get this deal done. And that's why I would jump in and see if I could get something over value for what I'm giving up. If I'm thinking about DeAndre Hopkins, if I could get a 2nd, to me, that's enough to where I feel good about getting more than I think he's actually worth. And it is a guy that you might lose at the end of next year or this coming year, no matter what. Right. So you're getting an asset that could help you long-term for a guy that might help you for 1, maybe 2 more years. How valuable is he at this point? I don't know. But a 2nd round pick, I'd have to think about it. I would offer that to jump in there. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Jump on in with your opinion on this, and we will take it to the bank in our last segment, make our predictions for the weekends. Reno is on the line with us. Reno, welcome into the show. What do you think?
Hey, guys, what's happening? I think that that previous caller just said the Niners trade for a right tackle. Look, if the Steelers want to give up a bunch of picks and give them Ayuk, and then I'll take those picks and I'll trade them to the Raiders for Devontae Adams. I'd do Devontae Adams for Ayuk, basically straight up if you can get that. That's something I'd do, but otherwise I think Ayuk's coming back to the Niners. If you turn down $32 million, then it's not about money, and you got to go to a place that's going to win. And there's no other place right now that's going to take you except where you're $25, $27 million a year. I think you should do it.
Reno, I do think there's a lot of logic in the theory that cooler heads will prevail and the 49ers will just keep Ayuk and make some sort of deal
100%.
with him. But this is predicated
100%.
on they are at an impasse. You brought up an interesting 3rd team. If I'm the Raiders, I'm all over this because Devontae Adams, that could bring a lot to the table in a 3-way deal. Can you imagine the blockbuster if that happened? And there's a lot of talks of of Adams maybe going to the Jets to get reunited with Aaron Rodgers. That's been talked about a lot. So I do think the Raiders are going to lose with Devontae Adams or lose with Adam. So if I'm them, I'm definitely getting into this game. That's why I would try to strike while the iron's hot. Like I said, the 49ers are here. Rand Carthon's got a relationship with the 49ers. Might be worth a phone call just to see what's going on. Let's see. Do we have time for one more? Gamma Greg. That's not a Motown. That's the actual. If you have your own name, you keep your name. If you're nameless, we assign an alias. And today's theme is Motown singers. Greg says, I would give up D-Hop for the deal to get younger and avoid any future injury issues he may end up having for the duration of his contract here. I do think that's why, if it gets to a point of a 2nd-round pick, because of that reason, that's too much to pass up. You would have to do it. I think maybe to facilitate a deal, maybe they would offer in a counter something lower than a 2nd. That's when you would have to weigh it. But a 2nd-round pick, to me, puts it over the top. But that's how I feel about it. But we've had a lot of opinions on this today.
This 3-way trade has gone 8 different ways. I know that sounds crazy to say, but there's just a lot of different options out there. And And for me, because I'm in the position of a Pittsburgh Steelers GM, I just think offering a player would be just logical for the Titans. I don't see why you would just. I understand the draft capital, I understand that, but like denying a young prospect, like obviously you mentioned the scouts have to check it out, but like I would say yes to that with no hesitation.
Roman Wilson, you're saying, yeah,
even Pat Freiermuth as well. I mentioned that to Chase earlier. Like, why would you not take Pat Freiermuth?
Well, because I don't have to give up D Hop, right? So
right, that's what I'm saying.
I'm not. I don't. Why Freiermuth for D Hop as a straight trade is basically what would happen.
Well,
I don't.
D Hop would be going to San Francisco. That's what I'm saying. Like if
right, but the net result for the Titans is you give up D Hop, you get Freiermuth. I'd rather just keep D Hop
and a fourth. Don't forget that.
Oh, you're throwing in a fourth?
Yeah,
okay, well, all right. Well, I'd have to consider that for sure. I might rather lean towards Roman Wilson in a fourth, maybe. But see, this is what's fun about it. I wonder if it ultimately will happen, and if it happens, will there be a third team involved in this Ayuk thing? I do wonder how that will end up going down.
You were ahead of it, Willie.
Yep, and if it does, you heard it first here.
Willie Stradamus.
All right, when we come back, we'll take it to the bank. We'll end the show with that. It's been a fun day here on 102.5 The Game. You're listening to Willy and DMase.
Here comes the money.
And you can take that to the bank.
Here comes the money. Money, 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 money,
Dollar, dollar, dollar. Ching, ching, bling, bling, cut the chatter. You ain't talking money, then you're talking no matter. Ching, ching, bling, bling, patent pockets.
It is time to take it to the bank here on 102.5 The Game. This is Willy and DMase, final segment before the weekend begins. Titans and 49ers tomorrow. Preseason cranking it up. F&M Bank, banking made easy on purpose. Customer, community, F&M Bank. That is the place to go. Just go to myfmbank.com for more info. Hey, don't forget, tune into 102.5 The Game on Sunday for coverage of the Cookout 400. Coverage is going to begin at 4 o'clock with the race starting at 5. Coverage also available on the 102.5 The Game app and thegamenashville.com. We've got great racing coverage. And also, the Sounds are taking on Indianapolis. Pregame at 6:20, first pitch at 6:35, with coverage also available on the 94.9 The Fan app, 94.9 The Fan, the radio station, of course, and the website, 949thefan.com. Sounds Baseball is presented by Twin Peaks, Family Leisure, 5 Points Roofing, Claude Vet Clinic, and Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning. All right, time to take it to the bank. Nick, read 'em and weep. What happened last week?
Well, Willie, DMase was right. He did get the gold medal tally for the weekend correct. So there's a cha-ching there. He also did pick a French versus Argentina game, and he picked the exact score. Did not happen, by the way. That did not happen for him. France ended up winning that game. Argentina lost. So then they're actually playing in the gold medal final right now against Spain. I believe they're losing 4-3 in extra time. So there's that. As for myself, I had Tommy Pham did a home run in the weekend series. Did not happen. He got a triple though, almost an inside the park home run.
It hit the ivy. I saw it when it happened.
Yeah, and then also had Jackson Holliday hit a home run. That happened. Randy Rosarina did not hit a home run. Neither did Jazz Chisholm Jr. So yeah, 1 for 4 on that. But as for yourself, Willie, would you like to share on for your pick this week?
What happened to my picks last week?
Well, Willie,
I've got to know.
Okay.
What did I say?
Well, you said that the Mets would win their 2 out of the 3. Willie,
Against the Angels?
yeah, I don't think they won their 2 out of the 3.
No. I didn't predict the Mets. I didn't do that.
Yeah,
No, I did not do that. I did not pick the Mets. That is not my policy. I picked the Reds. Was it the Yankees, Red Sox? What was my? No, it was the Cardinals. I picked Cardinals, Cubs.
I thought that was 2 weekends ago.
No, last week I had Cardinals, Cubs at Wrigley.
Was that last weekend?
Yeah. So I was right.
You were
I
right.
took the Cardinals.
Sorry, I looked at the wrong sheet. Excuse me. Yes, you are correct. Oh my goodness.
I got that right.
I have my notebook right. Sorry about that. I have the
Yes.
wrong sheet.
I feel better.
Oh,
I
my
feel better.
goodness.
But I was not happy that the Mets lost 2 out of 3 to the Angels.
Yeah, sorry
That
about
didn't go well.
Hey, but they did win against the Rockies the other night. We talked about that.
Yeah, they won 2 out of 3. You really would like to take full advantage of how bad both of those teams are. The Angels just went to Yankee Stadium and won last night easy. The baseball race, by the way, has been really, really exciting.
What are you going to say about those Braves fans, Willie? What are you going to tell them?
Well, the Braves get the Rockies in Colorado. They've been not playing well, right? I know the Braves fans are in a bad mood. So usually what happens when the Braves don't do well is the Braves fans check out. They just say, well, it's football season. We'll start watching football, get them next year.
Okay.
I say hang in there with your team through the tough times. That's what being a fan's all about. I feel like Braves fans can get soft.
They're in a new position they've never been in.
Adversity. Yeah, they're in adversity.
Yeah.
They're in a race. Embrace the race.
Welcome to the
Go
show.
through the excruciating pain. That's why I missed the USA great comeback against Serbia yesterday, because I was so focused on the Mets Rockies, because I'm a true fan. I like the pain. I like the risk of losing to a terrible team like the Rockies. I'm okay with it. I got thick skin, but the Mets are relevant. I'm in on it. And even when the Mets stink, I still stick with them. I'll wear a Mets hat in bad times. I'm okay with it. I feel like the Braves fans kind of check out.
Well,
But the Mets and Braves right now are very close in the standings. They're a half game apart. So the Braves could hold serve against the Rockies. The Mets are in Seattle, which is always a tough place to win. And so by the end of the weekend, let's see where it goes. But I like staying away from the Mets in my predictions.
wow, you've been hyping them up this whole
Stay
time.
away.
You're staying away?
I'm not hyping them up. I'm cautiously scared, but
Okay.
I'm excited. I'm all in on the race. Now, here's what I'm tempted to pick. The White Sox lost 21 in a row, won a game, then lost again, and then fired the manager. Now, that's really interesting. They didn't fire him during the 21-game losing streak. He finally broke through with a win. They lose one more, and that's it. He's out. Okay, so it's White Sox Cubs in Chicago, in Comiskey, right? So will the White Sox win a game in the series? The Cubs, they're not great. They're very mediocre. Their season isn't going like they want it to. Will they sweep the White Sox? I think there's no way. In fact, I'm going to go as far as to say the White Sox are going to win the series. They'll take 2 out of 3 from the Cubs.
Holy cow. Well, again, back to the text.
Like they're due. Like they're overdue.
Willie, what are
they
you
changed
smoking?
managers. Maybe a new manager comes in. He's got his positive outlook. He's 0-0. He's undefeated.
I don't know. What
You don't think so?
No, I can't. I can't do that. But hey, if you're going that, best try to 3 for that. Go ahead. Anything else?
I'm giving a high degree of difficulty. Just like the diving and the gymnastics, you have a preset degree of difficulty. I want a high preset degree of difficulty for this pick.
Okay.
I'm picking the White Sox to win 2 out of 3.
Any home runs in this?
I love in the spirit of, because you love doing this, I will pick somebody to hit a home run in this. So let's well, that's what I tried to get Dansby Swanson to do it. See, that Chase is all in.
He's not checked out. That's what he said.
He's got his Braves hat ready to go. He's not a fair weather fan, and he wants to take the tomahawk
He's brought
to
the
me.
chop.
He wants to take the tomahawk to me as soon as I get off the air. All right, let's go for a second straight week with Dansby Swanson, because he did not come through last week. He did not hit a home run, right? Last week?
Did not.
Okay. All right, so what do you got?
For myself?
Yeah.
You ready for this? It's like a
I got to do one for the Titans,
Go ahead.
49ers for fun.
Yes.
I will say that Julius Chestnut will score a touchdown.
Whoa.
Tomorrow.
Okay.
And he will lead the Titans in rushing. Julius Chestnut.
Okay. Wow.
I think he's going to get a lot of run in the
Okay.
second half, so I'm gonna say he's going to have a big game.
I'm going to go
Leading rusher and touchdown for
Interesting.
Chestnut.
Now you got me thinking, Willie. I'm going to go with the Titans game as well. I say the Titans score in the first drive, because they talked about that. Brian Callen talked about that. I think they score in the first drive. Will Levis throws a touchdown pass to Calvin Ridley. There you go. There's that.
Wow, so you put a lot on that first drive or two.
Yeah.
Because that's all they're going to play.
That's fine. I am fully committed on that.
That would get them off on the right foot. Chemistry between and would that facilitate the three-way trade we've been talking about all day?
I think
don't
it
know.
does.
Maybe.
I think it does. We also, let's see, we can go back to football. I'm gonna stick with the Titans game as well. I think the Titans end up winning by 10 or more points. Why? It's the preseason. That's why.
You think that the 49ers will be just disinterested,
Yeah.
home fans?
I think this IU thing's got everybody just twisted.
And let's insert here that please be careful if you're actually thinking about wagering on a preseason game. I don't ever get that. I don't wager in general, but
Good
what
Lord.
really fascinates me is the people that want to put some action on the
No
on the
thanks.
preseason game. That is completely crazy to me.
And then my last thing we'll do here is for the MLB, that White Sox and Cubs game. I'm gonna go with a no-hitter to be thrown in that series.
A no-hitter to be thrown in that series?
Yes.
Golly.
And I'm not gonna go as who, but I have an idea. But
So
yeah.
a combined no-hitter counts.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah, we'll do that.
But who is no-hitting who? There's no way the White Sox are throwing a no-hitter, is there?
No, it's Imanaga. I think he's just a solid pitcher.
Okay.
I think he's got it in the bag. But yeah, going there, and I got to put a home run pick out there as well. We're gonna go Aaron Judge to get 2 home runs in the weekend series. So
Gotcha.
that's all I got. DMase unfortunately ran out of here, didn't give me anything. But
he's gonna have to take a 0 unless he reaches out.
that's what I'm thinking. I think it's gonna be a 0 unless he's
this-
listening and wherever he's at.
I'm predicting. I'm taking it to the bank that he does not call you with an official pick. So I want extra points, even though this is we're just jousting here. This is not the real season. After Labor Day, we will start an official season of what's going on here with Take It to the Bank. But thanks to our friends at F&M Bank. That's another edition of it. An early baseball score, Twins 2, Guardians nothing for all you Cleveland fans out there or Minnesota fans. Though it's the first and second place teams in the AL Central. A lot of Olympics going on down the stretch. A rainy day in Paris. A lot of track and field going on. The U.S. women's basketball team rolled easily in the semifinal, so they're going to the gold medal game. We'll hand it off to Jared Stillman for Stillman & Company. We'll talk to you on Monday here on Willy and DMase on 102.5 The Game.